Shut up and sit down.
I'm just gonna get right into it. Mr. JTE, Mr. Josh Tapia, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Brian. How's it going?
Good. How are you? I just asked you. I'm sorry. I'm really nervous. You're like the guy.
What? The guy?
You're the guy.
The guy to what?
You're the guy that like ran Schmoes for the longest time.
Yeah, that's right.
I want to know your whole story about how you got into Schmoes. I want to know everything.
Okay. Wow. You want the whole story? I'm going to give you the short version.
The short version?
Yeah, because the long version would be very long. Basically, yeah, I worked in Hollywood, worked in production, worked at Deluxe Digital, which apparently you worked for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then got burnt out a little bit because I wasn't getting any work in production. Decided to leave to South America for a year, which was very interesting. Kind of a little soul searching. Didn't work for a year, which was great. Wow. Played a lot of basketball, ate a lot of rice. And one of the things I missed being in South America was, especially because I used to live in LA, was talking movies. I really missed just like chatting movies with people.
You had no one out there to talk.
I had no one out there to talk to. No one spoke English.
Oh, really?
I was the only one. I had to learn Spanish as I got there. Okay. But I never got good enough where I could be like, let's talk about the new X-Men movie.
All in Spanish?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to talk about that. You said you were working in LA at a post house, Deluxe Media post house for 2 years. And then you decided I'm over this. I'm done.
Yeah. Well, I was working in production for a couple of years, and then the writer's strike happened in 2007, which is actually something that might be happening again soon.
Yeah.
And if you work in production, it's a tough thing to be in because all of my work dried up like within a week. And I kind of went to Deluxe because I needed steady work. I lost a lot of my contacts through the writer's strike. I mean, once you get off that ship, it's hard to get back on.
Really?
Yeah.
All the production just halted, a bunch of TV shows, movies, everything?
Before the strike, I was working, every week on different projects, whether it be movies, commercials, reality television, to the point where people were calling me for work because I was getting called for other jobs while working. So you kind of build this network with your fellow workers. Like say I have a week where I'm not working. Somebody who else I gave a job to would call me, be like, hey, they just called me for this movie. I'm working on this film right now. And you would take it. You kind of pass it along. So like I had like 3 or 4 people that would call me almost every week for jobs, and I would give them jobs because I had so much work coming in.
You would pass it on to somebody else to say, I can't do this, but I know somebody who could do it.
And they return the favor. So like you're very rarely out of work.
Would it just be production assistant gigs, or would you do like other stuff like gaffing?
No, yeah, I did PA, key PA, some assistant camera stuff. I did transpo for commercials, which is really good money.
Is transpo like transportation?
Literally transportation. Like you drive people to sets, you like drive trucks to set. Like there's so many different departments in filmmaking that I kind of dabble into quite a few because not so much like I wanted to do it. It was just those were the jobs available. You would just lie and be like, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah. Well, it's just driving a car. It's just like you wait while they're shooting, and then you drive all the extras back or something.
Sometimes it's like a really big box truck, or it could be like an RV. Like cars I shouldn't be driving because I didn't have a license for them, but I knew people, so I was like, yeah, don't worry about it.
But you said you could do it. And then it was your first time driving a big box truck?
Yeah, first time. So they're like, can you drive a box truck? Yeah. I mean, I might have hit a few branches while driving around, but still, like at that point, you're just, you don't ever want to turn a job down.
It's really fake it until you make it. That's what you were doing.
Exactly.
It's not saying no because you're too scared.
It's not a lie, Jerry, if you believe it.
Is that Seinfeld reference? Yeah. Okay. But that's my problem where I say, like, if I don't know everything like 100%, like I'll say, no, I'm not comfortable doing that. But you have that confidence to just learn it as you go. Yeah.
And you literally like, if I didn't know I remember I used to get jobs for editing later, and I was like, do you know how to use Premiere? I'm like, yeah, I know how to use Premiere. Hang up the phone. I knew I had 2 days I had to be there. I was just watching YouTube tutorials. Yeah. Like I literally taught myself before I went there 2 days later to make sure I was familiar with the program. And then, when you're there and you have a question, you just go to another editor and be like, hey man, how do you do this?
Yeah. Some people will help you.
They'll help you. Yeah. People don't want, people aren't in here. In my experience, they're not, it's very much community. They want to help you. Yeah. So it's not like, hey man, don't ask me for questions. Learn on your own. It's not like that. Most people are cool to work with.
Yeah. It's not like, oh, if I tell you, you're going to take my job and I won't have any work or something.
Yeah. It's not like that.
A lot of people will help out each other.
Of course.
When did you first move to LA?
I I think it was 2006 or very beginning of 2000. No, yeah, it's 2006. That's the year I graduated. Then I moved out here. Had one friend out here who I slept on this floor for like the first 6 months, I think.
Wait, graduated college?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're 22, 2006. You move out here. What college did you go to?
It was Full Sail University in Florida, which is basically film school. Oh. But they don't just do film school. They do like if you want to do in like animation, if you want to work in stage production, like, you know, concerts and stuff like that. It's basically a school that is in fast forward. You go 5 to 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. So I got my associates in a year and I got my bachelor's in 2 years.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. It's
so
hardcore.
Did you finish when you were 20 years old?
No. When I graduated, I was 24.
Oh, okay.
I didn't go to college right away after I graduated high school. I just wanted to work for a couple of years, save up some money. Uh-huh. Then when I was 22 is when I went to college.
Oh, okay.
Graduated when I was 24.
Oh, okay. So wait, I'm going backwards on everything.
Yeah, you're going backwards.
Where were you from originally?
Connecticut.
You grew up born and raised in
Bristol, Connecticut, home of ESPN.
Yeah.
It's the only thing they have going for them.
What do you mean home of ESPN? Like
ESPN is in Bristol, Connecticut.
That's where they broadcast from?
The whole network is there.
Really? I thought it was in like New York.
They have little departments in New York and LA, but it started in Bristol, Connecticut. If you watch SportsCenter every morning, that's in Bristol, Connecticut.
Really?
Yeah.
So growing up, did you want to like get into ESPN or get into movies right away, or what did you want to be when you grew up?
You know, when I was a kid, I didn't really know. And for me, I always loved movies, but I never said I wanted to be a director because I was kind of a realist. Yeah. And I said, that is like 1,000,000 shot.
Yeah.
To become a famous director is like 1,000,000 shot. So my like thought process was, that's impossible.
So you just wanted to work on movies be a part of it.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I loved movies. It wasn't until like out of high school and I was working and I was like, you know what? There's nothing else I love.
Yeah.
I may as well I might not be a director one day, but if I'm working in some capacity, it would be the best bet for me.
Did you know, or was there a movie that you're like, okay, this is the movie I want to make, or this is the type of movie, this is why I got into movies for this movie?
God, that's tough.
Or did you just like have a collection of movies when you were younger?
I love so many movies growing up. I mean, there's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is one of my favorites of all time.
That's my favorite. Yeah.
It's one of the movies where I remember renting it, knowing nothing about it as a kid from a Blockbuster and having a physical reaction of watching. There's a scene at the end of the movie where a character kind of lashes out finally.
When Billy
without spoilers, because I don't want to spoil for people who haven't seen it. It's a classic. And I guarantee you half the audience probably hasn't seen that movie.
Yeah. 75.
But there is a scene where a character lunges out and does something. And I remember physically jumping off my couch and almost like mimicking what was happening on the screen.
Really?
Because I was so invested in that movie.
That part, that just gets me. Because he's standing up for somebody. Yes. Because something happened to somebody else. And he's like, I am like a father figure to this person.
He hit the tipping point.
Yeah.
He hit that tipping point. And you as an audience member have hit that point too, where you're like, I can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
So like that movie, Braveheart, is definitely one of the ones that those only times as like a kid when I saw it, I was like, oh my God. So, I love movies that end with very emotional kind of endings. Because I think that's what's a great movie can make you feel that emotion. It's done its job. Yeah,
it gets a reaction out of you.
Yeah, Glory is another one I really loved growing up. There's some movies like I love now. Like I consider Godfather one of my favorite movies of all time. But I'll admit, I don't think I really got it as a kid.
Me neither.
Like in Apocalypse Now, didn't really get it as a kid.
The original or the Redux version?
The original. Okay. I like the original over the Redux.
Because I saw the Redux for the first time and I was like, why is this movie so good? Like it's kind of slow. But then I realized there's like 30 minutes extra that shouldn't have been in there. I don't think the Redux, I'm not a big fan of the Redux. I prefer the original cut. There's a couple scenes that were cool, like the Playboy scene when they're like, but like the whole French scene isn't that great. Yeah, the French scene is so long too. It really kind of puts the movie to a halt. So I kind of understand why they originally took it out. But at the same time, I can understand Coppola wanting it in there because my God, the lengths he went just to get, he like flew in like in a legitimate, like a family from that country, like a chef, like, oh my God, it's crazy. Have you seen Hearts of Darkness? Of course. Yeah. It's one of the best documentaries like on filmmaking, of how hard filmmaking could be. Yeah. Is it better or the same as Apocalypse Now or as good as Apocalypse Now? Well, it's different. Documentary and a movie. It's just great how much the documentary parallels the movie in some ways. Because she was shooting footage during the filmmaking. Yeah. And like you get some real behind the scenes shit of Coppola losing his shit. Like holding a gun to his head. Yeah, which is just fantastic. And yeah, I love one of my favorite things on Blu-rays. I love a good documentary on filmmaking. And I think like movies that come to mind, Blade Runner,
There's like a 3-hour documentary
on the Blu-ray,
on the special edition Blu-ray.
Wow.
And it is amazing. Like from beginning to end, just fantastic. Also, I'll say that for the Alien 1 and 2, if you buy like the collector's set, they have a documentary series that goes with each one. That's fantastic. For some reason, Ridley Scott really knows how to document the making of his movies.
He's doing it himself?
No, but he commissions people to do it. It's not like, hey, I'm just going to,
But it's his idea to be like, hey, somebody like take note of this.
Yeah, he definitely likes people basically taking notes to a point.
Do you like the is it director's cut or the original cut of Blade Runner?
I think the final cut is the best one.
Is the final cut with the narration? Or without the narration?
I think it's better without. I think with it comes off a little cheesy, and you can kind of hear Harrison Ford doesn't care.
In his voice.
And he said it in interviews. He goes, I did it like so half-ass because I didn't like it, and even Ridley Scott didn't really like it.
So Ridley Scott didn't want the narration?
No, he wanted it out of there. Studio really pressured that because they thought people weren't quite get it.
That's what, when I first saw it without the narration, I was like, I wasn't really like on board with it, but I saw it a long time ago when I was really young.
With the narration or without?
Without the narration.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you missed the narration.
I never heard the narration.
Okay, interesting.
But I wonder if I go back with the narration or if I just try it again, because there's some movies, if I watch it again, I'll enjoy it more.
Well, again, like when you become more appreciative of a film and you kind of dissect it a little better. Listen, 2001 Space Odyssey
That's what I was just gonna get to.
is a challenging movie.
Yeah.
As a kid, I was like, this is boring.
Yeah.
Now I watch it and I'm just kind of blown away by how
it was made
fantastic it is.
Yeah, 1968. Yeah. The effects and everything hold just as good, or just as good as some movies now.
The fact in this, I don't think any film has really done this since, that Stanley Kubrick opens it with a black screen for almost like a couple minutes and you just hear noise.
The overture.
It's literally like a cup of water to clean the palate before you're about to watch something.
When I first saw it, I rented it. I don't know if it was from a Blockbuster.
Thought your tape was broken or something?
Yeah. I was like, what's wrong with this DVD? Like, should I fast forward? What do I do? It's just music. But I understand that. Like, he wanted to create this experience when people are in the theater to just like, hey, shut everything out. We're about to start. Like a concert, like the lights go down, the music starts, and then the show begins. Yeah. So that's what he wanted.
Totally. And I think it's not many directors have done that. I mean, there might be some art films have done it, but like he is letting you know from the get-go, get ready to experience this, not just... You're not just here for entertainment, because if you're just here for entertainment, I wouldn't be showing you a black screen with light music for about 2 minutes.
And is there an intermission in that one?
I don't believe the Odyssey has an intermission.
I'm not sure about. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure when I watch on Blu-ray, there's no intermission.
Oh, okay. But yeah, that whole, it took me a lot to get through. But then once I got through it again, I said, this is fantastic.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's a masterpiece.
So I want to go back to your high school.
High school? Oh, shit. You want to go back to high school?
Yeah. Right. You went to high school in Connecticut?
Yeah. Central Connecticut. Central High School in Bristol, Connecticut.
Or how did you get into film? Like, did you have friends that were into films, or like, was it your family?
That's a good question. My parents both like movies, but they weren't like, they didn't like, Josh, you got to see this movie. That never was something they would ever really say to me.
Yeah. So who got you into like Cuckoo's Nest or something?
Like that. Well, at that point at Cuckoo's Nest, I was already a huge fan of movies.
Oh, okay.
And Cuckoo's Nest is when I really started exploring outside of just things I enjoyed as a kid. Yeah. Like I would go to Blockbuster, and back in the day, the VHSs would have a little golden statue in the right corner.
Oh, really?
If it won any kind of Oscar, they would put a little Oscar statue in the right corner. So I would just walk through the drama section. I would just walk through all the sections. And I would look for the VHSs that had the little gold statue in the corner.
You did that on your own?
I did it on my own.
Nobody said anything? Or you got a recommendation from one of the Blockbuster employees?
Nope, I don't think they cared. And my mom was cool because she made it so... Because they gave me my own Blockbuster card. Yeah. And my mom put a note on the account saying my son is allowed to rent radar movies.
Oh, she wasn't strict or anything?
She wasn't really that strict. They knew I knew the difference between what's good and bad. And again, I'm not 6 years old.
You were?
I'm not.
Oh, how old were you at the time?
At this point, I'm like 13, 14, 15. Oh, okay. So like I'm well enough aware that what I'm watching is fake.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think if I brought something like super sexualized, they would probably get on me about that. But I never went for those movies. Like, I remember the first time I saw Platoon again. Yeah. I saw a little statue. I was like, what's this?
Best picture winner.
Never heard of this movie. Yeah. It's a war movie. Okay. I just discovered a lot of movies by just literally looking for the accolades. Yeah. And One Flew the Cuckoo's Nest is definitely one of those movies that I had never heard of. Mm-hmm. Just saw the statue and said, okay, let's watch this. And then was blown away.
Uh-huh. Did you have any brothers or sisters or?
2 younger sisters, but they weren't. I just hated the movies they watched because they were so much younger than me.
Oh, okay.
They just wanted to watch like kids stuff, not like kid movies. They just want to watch Barney and like some of these other really crappy kids movies. Not even movies, TV shows.
Oh, okay. What was the age difference?
That was the age difference. I have 2 sisters. One's about 7 years. The other one's about 9.
Oh, okay. So you were pretty much on your own.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I'm sorry. Hold on. Amanda. No, actually, my other sister's only about 4 years.
Oh, okay.
I totally forgot because I was thinking my younger sister. Yeah, no, 4 years and about 8 years.
Oh, okay.
If I'm doing the math correctly. But yeah, so like when I was getting out of high school, my second youngest sister was just getting in.
Oh, okay.
So like we didn't really have a lot of cross paths like in school and stuff.
What kind of kid were you in high school? Were you like the film like AV kid?
Yes and no. Like I didn't, for some reason, my school, like there was, they combined band and the AV club legs together. So like if you'd go to the AV room, like all the band kids would be there. And maybe it was just my school, but those band kids were so annoying to me.
Oh, really?
That I hated being in there. Like, I don't know why. They were just a certain breed of people. And I'm sure there's band people out there that are super cool.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about my experience. Like, it weren't they were geeky or anything. I just didn't click with them.
Were they just loud and obnoxious?
Very loud and obnoxious,
yeah.
Yes. Is that a thing for band kids to be?
I don't know about band, but I know for like theater kids in my school, they were like the loud, like, let's act out a bunch of things.
Probably a lot of cross thing going on there.
Oh, I wonder why the AV was crossed over with the band.
I think the teacher, like who did both. I think our school, is a decent size, but I think the teacher who did band also did AV.
Oh,
so
okay.
like they kind of just like would always be hanging around. But yeah, I feel like I didn't really like join AV club or anything like that. Like he had equipment that he would let me use. Like I used to edit music videos with movie scenes, like on his computer.
Oh, with like actual movie scenes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Like what movies would you make into music videos?
I would just take I would come up with a theme. Like I took Foo Fighters, My Hero.
Yeah.
And then I would just grab all my favorite movies.
Like Rocky?
Like Rambo. Like back in those days, I would just grab all my favorite movie heroes and I would grab clips and try to put together to a Foo Fighter song. Like that was one project I remember doing.
Oh, so you've been doing this since you were like 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
And now I do it every year because I do like a cinema montage every year.
Yeah.
That's from, me playing around as a kid. I used to like take my old camera and I would record the clips off my big screen TV.
Yeah.
So that's how I would get the clips.
And then how would you like input them into your computer?
We had something that you could connect to your computer through like a analog tape player, and it was a way to kind of like transfer onto your computer.
Just like run it like real time.
And also I had a digital camera, like not an actual camcorder, just a digital camera to take photos, but it allowed you to take up to 30 seconds of video.
Oh, so you would shoot some small scenes or something?
Yeah, and it was all digital, so I would like record with my little digital camera off the TV and then go directly from that to SD card to my computer.
Oh, shit. What would you record or edit on?
Whatever was like available on Microsoft back in the day. It was like, it's not iMovie, but it was like Movie Maker.
Movie Maker, media, like, something.
Whatever I could use. I think I even had a digital camera that came with like some really cheap software. Oh, okay. So I mean, it wasn't easy. Yeah. It was literally the bare basics, but
that's like going old school.
Yeah, if you know how to do it, you know how to do it.
So then were you ever thinking about like going into editing or wanted to become an editor of movies?
I love editing.
Yeah.
But I realized once I started getting to film school, I only love editing when it's my stuff. Yeah. I love editing stuff I shot together because I think when you shoot something, you're editing it in your mind as you're shooting it.
Yeah, you're self-editing.
Yeah, anytime you're shooting like a sketch or any sort of like anything with like story driven, you're always like documentaries is a whole nother beast. I never really tried to make a documentary. Yeah. The documentaries I made were made like, Spinal Tap, like they were films. Like when I did the Meet the Schmoes with Finstock, it's shot like documentary, but it's basically a cool like story scripted out, basically improv. So for me, like I love editing, but I realized once I've given someone else's work that I wasn't there to shoot. Yeah. I don't really know what they're going for. Oh. And I think that's why, that's why when you watch these documentaries, the director's always behind the editor. Yeah. Because he wants the vision to get out.
So then the editor becomes just like a button pusher.
Exactly. Yeah, to me, that's not fun. Yeah. When I shoot something my own, I love editing it. But when I'm not, I'm bored out of my mind.
Yeah. So when you are shooting it, like you're editing, you're like, okay, and cut point there. And then that's going to fade into the next scene just perfectly. You're already doing that. Yep. So you wanted to be a director. You wanted to create your own things.
Yeah. And I shot a lot of student film stuff in college. Like when I was in college on the weekends, we would all just get together and shoot short films. Like almost 95% were comedic because I just think that's where I felt like me personally, like my strength was when it came to like filming stuff. So yeah, it was great. During college is so easy because you have everyone's there with the same mindset. They want to make movies. I mean, when you're not working in class, why not shoot something with all these friends of yours?
Yeah.
Because they're all down to do it. The hardest thing before school and once you leave film school is getting people together to actually film something.
Yeah. I know like when kids are like in high school, like, fuck, I have nobody to shoot anything with. It's tough to just get a guy to hold a boom mic.
Yep.
But then when you do go to college, you're like, okay, everyone wants to do the same thing.
Exactly.
So then would you be the director of those movies, or would you guys like switch off?
For the most part, I would direct. Because I think me and my other roommates at the time, my friend Dan and Brett, we were the ones that were kind of really heading up the let's get together and shoot.
Oh, okay.
So it would be definitely collaborative at points. I think me and my friend Brett were two of the most like, this is our vision. And there would be times where he wanted to do something. I'd be like, that's too far.
What do you mean
like,
too far?
Sometimes his comedy would be different than mine.
Like dark or like?
No, not dark, but just maybe like a little over the top.
Oh, okay.
Whereas I'm a little bit more like, I like a little bit like, I like the humor to be not so much in your face.
That's what I like.
I like a little bit more subtle. And then you're like, oh, okay, that's funny.
Yeah. Like kind of dry humor.
Exactly.
Not like in your face, like I don't know. I want to say like kiddish humor. But just like slapstick. I'm not like a huge fan.
I love Dumb and Dumber, but that movie is very in your face with its comedy, right? I like something that's a little bit lower than that, like a little bit more subtle, but could still have those big laugh out moments.
But they still have like subtle moments, just like quick one-liners where it's like, not if you want to work 40 hours a week or some like small things like that.
It had a good balance. And sometimes I remember he would just want to push it a little farther, but it made us work really well together because I think there were times where he would pull me forward and it would work better. There's times where I'd pull him back and it would work better.
So he was like your writing partner or just like producing partner?
No, we didn't write. We did everything on the fly, improv.
Really? It was all improv?
Yeah,
You never thought to just like...
I'm not a firm believer in writing out dialogue because I think it always comes off, for me personally, it comes off as something that somebody studied.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, here's the essence of what you need to say. Very Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's what they don't go by script there. They just outline it. Yeah. And for me, it comes off more believable and you could find more things that way. And sometimes you'll get it in like 2 or 3 takes. Sometimes it'll take you 20.
I enjoy that way, that approach of things, but I can see it like watching The League where like it is an outline of like that, but then I can see like, oh, they're covering up for the lack of kind of just focus. Like they're, instead of pushing the story forward, like there's so many comedians doing bits and jokes and stuff, but I see the editing around that, if that makes any sense.
I totally get you. I mean, I think it doesn't work for every project either. It depends on what your project is really.
Yeah. So was that the guy that you went to LA with, that writing or / producing partner?
Yeah, he moved out here before me and was living in a studio apartment in Studio City. And he was, at that point, everyone was helping each other out. We all went to film school together. So I think I slept on his floor. For the first 6 months I was here, I slept on the air mattress on his floor.
How much earlier did he leave before you did?
Maybe 4 months.
Okay, so not long.
Not long.
Why did you stay back?
I went home. I don't remember why. I think he graduated a little bit before me. Or no, like, I'm trying to remember.
Was it just like a working thing? Like you were just trying to save up before you took...
I think, I'm trying to remember now. It's so long ago. I think he just graduated and went straight to LA. I think I stayed another month or 2 in Florida just to kind of like get things all put together.
Oh, okay.
And, I think we had 2 months left in our lease also. So I wasn't trying to like, leave until the lease was up.
Oh, that makes sense.
And he left early. And then I went home for literally 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because I was worried if I went home for like a few months, I would get too comfortable.
Yeah.
And be like, I'll just stay here.
So what did you do during those 2 weeks? Were you just like prepping everything?
I just went home. My parents threw me a big graduation party. Got to, just hung out with all my friends and family that I hadn't seen in like the last 2 years. I've seen them, very little because I was in school so much. So I just took that time to hang out with everybody and just kind of,
Was it always in your mind to go to LA?
It was New York or LA.
Yeah. You were right next to New York. Why didn't you go to New York?
I didn't. I was moving to Florida made me realize I don't miss winter. I don't miss snow. I don't miss, driving in snow. I don't miss shoveling snow. I don't miss walking outside and just being miserable.
Oh, okay.
But I did think about New York only because of how close I would be to my family and everything. But at the same time, I came out to LA and I was like, this is the place to be, man.
That's where
The weather's great.
Yeah.
There's so much the cool things you could do out here compared to New York. New York, there's a lot of cool stuff, but you're in the city.
Yeah.
Here, you could go to the park, the beach. Like you go to Vegas.
Yeah.
You could go down to San Diego. There's so many cool things in different kind of environments out here. We go to Big Bear if you want some snow.
Yeah, you're like an hour away from snowboarding, an hour away from surfing or anything. Yeah.
So for me, that was like, you know what? I grew up near Connecticut my whole life. I grew up, I've been in New York plenty of times. It was an hour, 2 hour train or car ride. I was like, we're going to, mix things up. Let's just go to the other side, man.
You're going to go all the way across the country.
Exactly.
Did your parents say anything? You're like, were they encouraging or were they like, hey, like take a step back and think about it?
They were always encouraging. They were just like, do whatever you think you want to do. Whatever makes you happy.
What were they, what were their professions?
My mom was a teacher, teacher her whole life. For
what?
Like middle school, elementary.
Oh, so not like a specific like study?
Oh, she was a special ed teacher.
Oh, okay.
So she was bilingual, which really helped her out because she worked in Hartford and was able to like help kids. And
okay.
So she got paid a little more than a regular teacher, which I think helped. My dad, straight up mechanic, man.
Really?
Yeah, old school.
Yeah, that's like like an old school trade.
Old school mechanic.
Did he want you to be a mechanic?
No, I don't think he never pressured. I think he was like, I was never pressured to be anything.
No.
Like my parents were never like, be a doctor, be this lawyer. They were just like, do whatever you think you want to do.
Isn't that, my parents were the same way, but it's kind of like upsetting to me because it's like, if you just showed me like some like direction or something, I feel like I would be a lot further than I am right now.
That's interesting. I never felt that way because they wanted me to go to college.
Yeah.
So and they were like, college is where you'll find out what you want to do. And then once I said I want to go to film school, college, they were like, well, then what you want to do.
Yeah.
Just do it.
They didn't say like, oh, you're not going to find a job. You're not going to do anything.
No.
Yeah. But they knew you were resourceful. You're going to find some work.
Yeah. I've been working since I was 16.
Well, really?
I've never not worked except for the only time I didn't work was when I went to college because my school was so
busy and impactful.
Yeah. That's the only time I never really worked. As soon as I turned 16, I got a job, or high school jobs.
Well, I worked
Burger
at King or something.
My first job was Boston Market. Scooping mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, and serving chicken. Then I worked in a kitchen at like an old folks home for a while because it was really good money. I worked at a movie theater for a couple of years. And then, I worked at a pawn shop for a couple of years.
Oh, wow. So you were always independent. You're all like, I'm going to make my own money. I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah. Once you start making your own money, you're just like, oh my God, this is amazing. I mean, your parents can take care of you for so long.
Yeah.
My parents were never one to spoil me.
They didn't spoil you?
Money wise? No. I mean, we were like well off. We were like middle class, but they were never going to buy me a video game when I'm a teenager.
They didn't do that?
No. They're like, if you want to play a video game that costs $60. Get a job and buy it.
Then that's a great thing because then you can realize the value of the money.
Exactly.
And then you're like,
I value money very much because I've been broke most of my life.
Yeah, everybody.
So I think when you're broke most of your life and you have to earn all the things you wanted, money is much more like that's why I don't gamble. I go to Vegas, I'll maybe do $20.
Yeah.
But if I lose that $20 and I could have like $400 with me.
Yeah.
If I lose $20, I feel miserable for the rest of the day.
It hurts so bad.
Yeah. Cause that's $20 I could have spent for dinner. Like I appreciate money too much to gamble it away. Yeah. I'm sure it feels great to win.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, it feels worse to lose and mostly you lose.
Yeah. That's what gambling is.
Yeah.
So like when you do spend that $20, it hurts you like for me, I'm like, fuck, I don't want to spend $100.
I just feel like, God, what an irresponsible thing to do. Like that could have been then when I go to buy dinner that night, I'm like,
that was $20.
I just spent $40 for dinner because I lost $20 this afternoon.
But do you ever think like I should spoil myself because I worked hard, I did this, I earned this.
Here's the thing: when I do spoil myself, it's not something that's like for an afternoon that I can't take home with me.
Oh, it's something like
it's something that I could see every day and enjoy every day. Like I have a really nice TV. You're seeing my 65-inch Sony TV.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. I love it. I was so happy when I bought it. Earlier this year, I bought a projector.
Yeah.
With a screen. Now, did I have to buy that?
No.
I definitely spoiled myself there.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it every day. Every night when I watch a movie, I'm able to look down and enjoy that.
So you have a 65-inch TV and a projector. Which one do you decide to use?
Well, that's the thing is projectors, you only want to use them at night.
Oh,
because unless you totally black out your room.
Oh, okay.
So like for me during the day, TV is still being used. That's why I didn't nail my projector to the wall because I still want my TV there. So my projector goes in front of my TV. So and for sports, cable, anything like that, I still use my TV because it looks fantastic. But once I want that cinematic experience and I'm about to put on a Blu-ray, I go to the projector. And which is also works out really well because if I was using that projector for everything, I would blow that bulb out in like a year.
Oh yeah, and the bulb's like $100 or something. Yeah.
So I think it's a perfect mix. Like it makes it feel special whenever I pull that projector down because I'm really going to cinematic mode. Whereas on my TV, it's just, for your TV.
What was the first movie you watched on the projector?
I got it like the same weekend Doctor Strange came out on Blu-ray.
Ooh, and you watched Doctor Strange?
I watched Doctor Strange in 3D.
A 3D projector?
Yep.
The projector can do 3D?
Yes, sir.
Really? Yep. I didn't know that was like a technology thing.
And for me, the bigger the screen, the better 3D is. Because for me on the TV, 3D still looks good. Yeah. But I think the thing with 3D is you want to feel immersed. Yeah. That's why when you go to the IMAX, like 3D really feels like you're in there. So I'm much enjoying the 3D on my projector now because it's a 120-inch screen. Double what my TV is, and it looks fantastic. Yeah, when you're watching it on the 60-inch, you can see the size of the screen. Yes, so like you're missing the point of 3D, or you're not fully into it. Totally. So back when you moved to LA, I want to go back to there again. Your buddy's out here, you move out here. What do you do the first day? Oh, what did I do the first day? Or like first week? Like, what do you like? Where do you find work? What do you do? Like, that was hard. I mean, I moved out here with about $400 to $500 in my pocket. Really? That's all the money I had in the world. Yeah. You didn't think to save like a good amount? I just didn't have any money saved up, man. But you just said you're like the penny pincher. But I wasn't working for 2 years. Oh, okay. The whole time I was in school, I didn't work. I had student loan. I was living off student loan money. Oh, okay. So because I had no job, I didn't really have a chance to save up any money. So yeah, I moved out here, and then I think I took like 2 PA jobs, which were freebies. Like they didn't even pay me, but it was like literally I needed a network. Yeah. So I started doing that, but that was taking a while. So I started getting work. Two of the first jobs I ever got here, just to like survive out here, was in LA. If you go to a movie theater, there's guys handing out preview screenings. Oh, you were one of those guys? I was one of those guys. You're just like, hey, yeah, you want to see a movie Wednesday night? Yeah. So you hand those out all afternoon for every person that shows up with the code, because there's a code on that paper that when you check in your ticket, for every person that shows up, you get $7. Now that could be great or it could be really bad because you could spend a whole day handing out those papers and maybe 3 people go to that screening that you handed out to. You get $20. $21. Yeah. But then there's times where you only spend an hour and maybe 50 people go to there. Yeah. And then you're like, oh my God, look at all this money. $500. Yeah. So like, it was a real crapshoot. There are times where I would work a lot and not get any money out of it. And there are times where I worked a little to medium amount of time and I made a lot of money. But I would say in my experience, most of the time you just did okay. Yeah. Once it averages out to like a certain amount. It kind of just averages out. And it's kind of boring to just sit out theater and handing out. And you're just trying to, so like, again, did I like the job? No, but I was trying to survive. Yeah. You had to do it. I had to do it. Yeah. And then also they did, there's background work you get in LA. Did you do background work? Did background work. I did it too. You did it too? Yeah. And like you would be put into, a lot of times it would be extra work on movies sometimes. But a lot of it's TV, like audience work, where you literally sit in the audience and just watch a taping of a sitcom or a game show. Yeah. And you're getting paid around, back then it was like $8 an hour. Yeah. I don't know if it's the same now. When I did it, it was like $8 an hour, $60 or $64 minimum. Okay. If it went over 64, it'd get like time and a half or something like that. Yeah. Depending on how much time you did. Yeah. Again, easiest job in the world. You just sit there or stand around and you get paid $8 an hour. Yeah. But it gets really fucking boring. It does. Yeah. It's boring as hell. You're treated like cattle. Oh, you're treated like cattle. Yeah. The only good thing is, and this is the good thing I took out of it, is all the people that are working with you are kind of the same boat as you. They're struggling. They're struggling people who are doing this. They're out here for the same reason you are. And you network. Yeah. I met some really cool people doing that casting stuff. Like, what are you here for? I'm here to do this. I'm do this. So like you make some friends, you make some connections. That's true. That could later down the road, maybe help you out in the future. Because again, if you're moving to LA to work in this industry, it's all about who you know. Yeah. I've never gotten a job here out of resume. Every job I've ever gotten in LA has been through a friend or recommendation or some sort of networking. That's how it works in here. No one reads a resume or cover letter. Nope. Like I could bring you a resume with all the accolades, and he could be like, yeah, this guy looks good. And then one of that guy's friends will walk over and be like, I got this friend Jimmy who could do it. Oh, okay, just get Jimmy.
Yeah.
They want to know somebody.
Because like you're working with these people for 12 hours a day. You want to know what you're getting into with the person. Like if this guy's an asshole, but he has a great resume, you don't want to work with that asshole.
Totally. And like I realized when I was working production, the higher up you got, the less the shitty people got weeded out.
Yeah.
Because like you said, when you're working 12, 13 hours a day with somebody, you want to surround yourself with good people, people with good attitudes, positive attitudes. So like whenever I worked on set, everyone was awesome because if you weren't awesome, they got rid of you.
Yeah. The worst people are like no offense to the background people, but the background people or like the lowest of the low thought they were better than they were and they were the asshole to you. That's my experience.
Interesting. Like sometimes you'd find the background talent that I was a little off-putting. It was the actors.
That's what I was saying. Like,
yeah, the people who want to be the next Brad Pitt, and they're starting off in this like background extra, and like you could just see they're very much about themselves and they're very vain. At times.
And they want to be in front of the camera.
Yeah.
They think they're bigger than they are. They think their shit don't stink. And I'm like, dude, I'm in the same boat as you.
We're just here to make some money, man, and survive in LA.
Well, where were some of the gigs that you did for background work?
I did a couple episodes of My Name is Earl, where I was like one of the people in that bar. Here's the thing, I never watched the show.
Me neither.
But they're apparently like one of the main sets is like a bar that he always hangs out at. So like I'll be like in a background table. I was on the set of Yes Man, the Jim Carrey movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a scene where he goes to the first convention and that guy's giving his whole spiel about yes.
Oh yeah.
I was just one of the people in the audience.
Yeah.
Sitting around.
Did you see Jim Carrey like do his work? Yeah.
He was there. He's really funny.
Wow.
He was making jokes, like making us all laugh.
So you got to see him like do his thing.
Yeah.
When I was in background, I didn't see I was pretty much like the cattle call of like 100 people in the audience or whatever. I didn't really see the acting, but you get to see Jim Carrey.
Yeah, no, he was funny. Like the director was like at one point yelled at him. He goes, "Jim, do it like that, but try to do it a little bit slower pace." And then we did the next take, and he did it in like super slow motion the whole scene,
just to be a dick.
Yeah, just like to be a dick and be like funny, like, and everyone was just cracking up. And the director's like, "Okay, we'll do it for real now."
Yeah.
But that was still a really boring day because you're in there for 8 hours. He comes in for about 10 minutes, does the scene and leaves.
It takes all day to set up the lighting, set up the rig, set up the camera and everything. You're waiting there because they're paying you $8 an hour. They don't care how long you're there.
Exactly. Another one was Step Up to the Streets.
Ooh, were you in the crowd like during a dance?
The final dance in the rain.
Yeah?
Yeah, which we're kind of regret to this day because we're all there. It's like 2 a.m. We're shooting at night. They have rain machines.
So it was literally, you were just soaked.
No, that's why I'm not in the movie.
Oh, okay.
So as they're doing their final dance off, all the extras like who made it to the front lines are like cheering, but they're getting soaked.
Yeah.
If you kind of hung out in the back of the crowd, this rain machines didn't really hit you.
Yeah.
And it was cold that night. So me and my friend at the time were like, let's lay back. We're getting paid extra because it's a rain machine.
The rain bump, as they call it.
Basically. So we're getting paid extra that day. So we're making good money. And we're like, let's just hang out in the back. I do not want to get wet and be freezing for the rest of the night. But now looking back, I wish I just got in the very front, was just like, yeah.
Yeah, because then I
could have been in the movie and I could show it to this day. But back then I was cold and tired and didn't want to do it.
I mean, is it really worth it to be like, hey, I'm in there?
No, it's not like it's a great movie.
The Step Up. Well, yeah, I'm sure if it was a better movie, you would want to be in the... Have you ever seen yourself in one of the movies you were in or the TV shows you were in?
No, just the only one was the TV show was Deal or No Deal. Because I did that a lot for some reason. Like they would tape those like 4 episodes in a day. Yeah. So they were really long days.
Is that shot like on the Sony lot?
I think it was Sony. I can't remember what lot it was now. They all run together, man.
Oh yeah, like Jeopardy and like Wheel of Fortune.
It might have been the Sony lot. I honestly don't remember, but I remember one episode being, you know how they would go to the family of the contestant sometimes,
like on a video camera or something.
No, like they would be in the studio, but like on a side panel.
Yeah. And
one episode I was set like in between, so like whenever they cut to the mom and the dad, my face was like cut. Right, I was just in between them sitting. Yeah. I never saw it, but one night my parents called me. They're like, "We're watching Deal or No Deal. You're right there on screen." I was like, "What?" I was like, "Really?"
Like, yeah. You made it. You're a big shot.
Yeah. It's like, okay. It's the most unglamorous Hollywood sighting I could think of. Yeah. But my parents, they were excited to see me on TV, even though I was just in the audience.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to see yourself because, like, like, I don't know if your parents don't understand like what you're doing in here. Like when I wanted to move out here, my parents are like, oh, you're just going to party. You're just going to do this out there. Like they don't really think you're going to work or.
They understood it when I was a PA and stuff. Cause I would literally like, I'm on the set. I mean, you Paramount a lot right now.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's so cool. Once I started doing this podcast and behind the scenes, like YouTube stuff, that's when they were like, what are you doing? I don't quite understand because they're not in that world at all.
Oh, okay.
Like it's easy to tell mom, hey, I'm on Paramount. We're working on this Penelope Cruz commercial.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I know who that is. Oh, L'Oreal. Yeah, that's great. But when I'm like, yeah, I'm doing a podcast for this movie show. Yeah. They're like, what? Oh, okay.
But that was the thing too. Also, like I had never been on a movie set, so once I was doing background work, I was getting into the Sony lot or any lot, and I was like, "Fuck, I this is where I've wanted to go, like forever." I get access to all these behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. So, isn't there a story with that Penelope Cruz thing?
Yeah, I told on the show. Basically, like that was one of my first jobs in LA, and I think the grips were just playing a joke on me.
The grips,
the guys who basically carry around everything,
all the equipment. Yeah.
They were like, "Oh, we're missing a C stand, which is something that holds like a flag or lights and stuff like that."
Yeah, and
they're like, "It's in Penelope's trailer," and I was like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "She's not in there." He's like, "No, she's shooting on the other side of the lot."
Why would a C stand be in her trailer?
That's what I did. Listen, at that point, I was just trying to make everybody happy. Yeah, it was one of my first PA jobs.
You say yes to everything.
Yeah, you say yes to everything. So you got walkie-talkie, you're running around. So yeah, I remember I just opened the door to her trailer and immediately I see her in her underwear and she has like 3 girls around her, like putting on makeup and but they're in their underwear. She's in her underwear.
Yeah.
And she's like, don't come in, please. And then I just like closed the door really quickly. I was like, oh shit.
Did she see who it was or did she?
I don't think so. Cause she was looking in a mirror back at me.
Oh, okay.
But I remember running away and then hearing on intercom, like on a walkie-talkie, like, did somebody just go in Penelope's trailer? Who did that? And then I just didn't answer.
Oh, really?
No, I grabbed a go-kart and I just started driving around the Paramount lot, staying out of everyone's way.
Nobody said, or did they come back and laugh at you like those grips or like, this
I don't think they did. Because I don't even know who told it to me. Like it was one guy and then I avoided everybody for the rest of the day. Like I hid.
You never got in trouble?
Never got in trouble.
No one ever figured out, hey, it's that one guy.
Nope, never figured it out. If they did, they didn't tell me.
Wow. I would be so scared that I would get fired and like never be able to work again.
That's what I was worried about. I was like, oh my God, I'm done. But it was a 2-day shoot and I was there the next day. We shot it fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And she obviously didn't see you or else she would have said like, hey, you're the creep that went in my dressing room.
The only time I saw her before that, because we all had lunch and like the lunches on these sets, they come out of a truck, but it's like amazing.
It's like gourmet, like tri-tip food.
We had crab legs like for lunch that day.
Yeah. And
she kind of sat with us and with the crew and was eating with us. But
she's cool.
Yeah, she was really chill and cool.
Did she look good in her underwear?
She did. Like it's weird because like I don't remember exactly because it was so quick. I have like this flash memory. I remember her, but I almost remember the 3 girls surrounding her more.
What?
Because they're the ones that turn around. Were like, and she just kind of looked at me through the mirror, like, "Get out, please."
At that moment, I would just be too scared to be like, my career's over."
Yeah. So, it's a cool story to tell.
But after that, you still got work and you got everything.
Oh yeah, that was one of my first jobs. Like I said, I really got a lot of work after that.
So you worked from 2006 to 2007, and that's when you said it dried up.
Yeah, it was like 2006, 2007, but the end of 2007 was when it kind of dried up.
Oh, okay.
So it was almost like a year and a half or more that I was working in production.
Just like steady. You never had like a steady gig? Oh, no, sorry. You had the post-production gig at Deluxe.
That was after the writer's strike, yes.
Oh, that was after?
Yeah, because I was like, oh my God, I can't find any more work. And a friend of mine that worked for them offered me the job and it was like guaranteed money weekly.
It was good 9 to 5, right?
Yeah, 9 to 5. Good money. It gave me a lot of freedom.
Benefits or anything?
Yeah, lately. It wasn't like, full benefits, but I got some benefits. And it was a cool job. Like you said, I got to go to studios every day.
You got to go to like MGM,
Fox, and Sony, Paramount. So it was really fun in that sense. But the job after, I did it for 2 years.
Yeah.
And after like, I think a year and a half, I was like burnt out on it.
That's what the thing, like you get too comfortable.
And I realized I didn't want to work like for that company really. I didn't want to do what they were doing. Oh. So I was like, I'm just wasting time here. And I really only took the job because I need money.
You needed it. Yeah.
At least it was something in the industry.
But when you were doing that, were you saving up so you could just step away from that job for a minute?
Not really. I was trying to get back into production. And here's another thing. I wasn't sure if I wanted to get back into production because it's a lifestyle. It's not just a job. It's a lifestyle.
It's everyone. It's like, it's your whole life when you're in it. You're immersed. You're 12 hours a day You have nothing else to do.
I couldn't imagine being in a relationship with somebody if I was doing that work.
Yeah.
You would have to she'd have to work with me.
Oh,
because you work 12, 14 hours a day sometimes, 6 days a week.
Yeah.
If you're put on a movie for 2 months, your 2 months that's your life.
Yeah.
And then what you do is then you get some time off in between. But sometimes I would work a month job.
Yeah.
I'd be exhausted, getting up 6 a.m. every morning, getting home at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, the money is good.
Then waking up and doing it again the next day.
Yeah, but then you get it. Say I do a film, it's done. I'm like, you know what? I just need to relax for a week or two. And then 3 days later, you get a call to work on another movie. You can't really say no because you don't know when the next job is going to come.
That's what I would hate about it, because I would be so scared that the jobs are going to dry up.
So you never want to turn a job away. So you never really get a chance. I mean, I'm sure if you do it for long enough, you get to that point where you can do that.
Yeah.
But especially in the first couple of years, I just couldn't turn any jobs away because you never know when the next job is going to come in. So you just worked for a month straight. You're exhausted. You would like to have 2 weeks off, but then you get called for another job that's 2 weeks. And you're like, well, I'm going to take it because you never want to say no to a job.
And the pay is good.
The pay is great.
So it pays good enough where you could take a month off or so?
I think if you did it for a year, if you could, but I have this mentality where I just don't want to say no to a job.
Yeah.
Because you never know where that job could lead to a much bigger job.
That's why.
So
yeah.
It really is, like I said, it's a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
So that's why after I quit Deluxe, I was like, you know what? Dropped my cap.
It's okay.
I didn't know if I want to go back to that production life because I was like, I don't know if I want to start from scratch again. Because after that writer's strike, I would literally kind of have to start from scratch.
Oh, okay.
I honestly wonder if I never had that writer's strike and I was working as much as I was, who knows where I would be right now.
You would think you'd be a assistant director or second AD
who
or
knows?
something?
Yeah. I could have been. I could have been a camera guy.
Yeah.
Camera guys make a shitload of money.
Yeah.
Or I could have been a sound guy who make a shitload of money.
Have a steady gig, yeah.
Who knows? That strike definitely altered my path.
But you're still on a good path right now.
I love where I am right now.
Yeah.
So it worked out.
So what was going through your mind when you were giving up the Deluxe job? Where were you in that going? What direction were you going in? I
don't think I knew what direction I wanted to be in. So I just knew I didn't want to work there anymore. And that's when I decided, I talked to my parents. My parents were at that time were retired mostly, and they were splitting their time between America and South America.
Oh.
So I said, you know what? They're like, why don't you come to Ecuador for a little while? And I was like, well, I think I'm just going to go for a year. I was like, I'm just going to go to South America for a year, not work, learn the language, and just kind of take a year off to find myself, I guess, in a way.
But that's so long.
It's a long, I know.
Because you're the one that's saying you don't want to turn a job down because you don't know if you'll have one in a week.
But at this point, I haven't got offered a job in 2 years because I've been working at Deluxe.
Oh, yeah.
So I was all I knew I was leaving a job I didn't enjoy.
Yeah.
And then I figured if I go to Ecuador for a year, I could learn a new language. I could just kind of experience living in another country, which I think would be really interesting.
Yeah.
And I think when I left there, I would, have a better idea of what I want to do.
So you moved, did your parents have a house out there, some vacation home?
They had a condo on the beach in Atacames. So my first 4 months I lived with them on the beach. But I got bored. I mean, beaches are beautiful, especially where I was. But after 4 months on a beach, you kind of done everything.
Yeah, what do you do?
There's nothing to do. You just wake up, you eat, you swim, you go to bed, you repeat. It was beautiful. It was the paradise.
Yeah.
But I missed the city a little bit. So then I moved to Quito, which is the capital of Ecuador. It's kind of high in the Andes Mountains, so it has a high altitude, similar to Denver. And the last 8 months I lived in Quito.
So what'd you do out there?
Not a whole lot, man. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you my day was. I would usually wake up. I rented a 2-bedroom apartment out there with a guy who was renting a room in a really nice area. And rent was $200 a month.
But it was just some guy from Ecuador, or wasn't?
Yeah, he was a guy. He was a professional guide.
Okay.
I knew. No, I didn't know him through a friend. I think I just found an ad online. My parents took me out there. We looked at the place. It was nice. And he was cool thing about him was because he was a guide, he would be gone for weeks at a time.
Oh, he would just be your own place.
He would just there were so many times where it was just my place because he was gone. He kind of just wanted somebody there to so it wasn't always empty.
Yeah.
So it was really good. But my day was real chill, man. I did do some touristy stuff, look at some landmarks and some of the famous stuff there. Most of the days I would wake up, go on the internet for a little bit, see what's going on in the news. And the internet there is super slow. It's not like America.
Yeah.
Almost every single day I would go play basketball from about 1:30 till about 5 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a huge park in Quito where just basketball courts everywhere and a lot of cool people that would play. Got to the point where I knew these people because I would go every day. The people would go every day.
Yeah.
The same people would go every day.
That's what they did.
It's just what they did.
Yeah.
And that's why when I came back from Ecuador, I was like in the best shape of my life.
Really?
Like,
did you lose a lot of weight?
I lost so much weight. I was just in such good shape when I came back because I didn't eat any bad food. I wasn't eating fast food.
There wasn't like a McDonald's on the corner or some shit?
All I ate there was like chicken, beans, and rice. That's like, or steak, chicken, and rice is all I ate for like a year.
And you were playing basketball every day.
And I was playing basketball every day. So like I was like in the best shape of my whole life. But yeah, it did get boring at times. But I also used that year to catch up on movies that I never saw.
Oh, okay.
I would watch a movie almost every night, and I would purposely go out and watch films like classics I hadn't, so for some reason or another, I missed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't see everything from the 30s on.
Exactly. Yeah. So I would just like literally use that year to like catch up on films, play a lot of basketball, eat, and just explore South America.
So that's where all your knowledge for the Schmoedown comes from. Just a year
I knew a lot before that.
Oh, okay.
Like by that point, when I moved to Ecuador, I was already a pretty big cinephile.
Oh, okay.
But I used that year to fill in some of the holes that my movie knowledge definitely had. Like for some reason, there was big movies I just didn't watch as a kid. Like 10 Commandments was one of those movies I just never watched growing up.
Those long epic movies, I really never got into. Yeah.
Exactly. So I started watching movies like that, like stuff that was just like, for some reason I missed throughout my life.
How do you get them out there?
They sell like, there's no such thing as like a Best Buy out there.
Yeah.
There's literally stores where they just have bootlegs upon bootlegs upon bootlegs.
So you're watching bootleg movies?
Everything I bought was bootleg because you can't buy a real movie down there.
But they have like DVDs and DVD players and TVs and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I brought a TV. I had my PS3, I think, at the time. But I would just buy and they were like $1 for a movie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they were good quality. They were DVD rip quality.
Oh, they were DVD ripped.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
They're not like in the theater camcorder.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So like, and then if they had a movie you didn't want, you just told the guy who owned the store, and he would go home, burn it, rip it, download it off some torrent site, burn it onto a DVD, and have it for me the next day.
That's crazy. So that was your life for a year.
That was my life for a year, man.
You seem like the guy that wouldn't like want to stop moving though. Like you like working and you like earning a paycheck and everything. Like
I know that, and that's why I think I did it because I wanted to just change it up.
Oh, okay.
You can't change it up much more than moving to a whole new country where you don't speak the language.
Yeah.
Like I took Spanish classes while I was down there because I didn't speak Spanish. So a lot of my time was also spent with this teacher who was literally teaching me Spanish, and I would go out and practice it. And I'll tell you this, Ecuador has some good movie theaters.
Oh, okay.
It had some really decent movie theaters, and the tickets were, I think, $3 a piece. And for $3.50, you would get a large popcorn, a large soda, and nachos for $3.50.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
That's like watching a movie in the 80s.
Yeah, it was like, it's so, Ecuador, if you look this up online, it's the #1 destination for American people who retire.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because like, it's so cheap. It's insanely cheap. I could not go live in Europe for a year. Yeah, because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
In Ecuador, you could live for a couple $1,000s. You could live really good for few months, half a year.
Were there people that did speak English out there?
Besides my parents?
Yeah. Anybody else? Like, how did you communicate with anybody?
I'm trying to think if there was anybody. The guy I was living with spoke a little bit English.
Oh, okay.
Like he wasn't like crazy fluent, but like we were able to communicate. And he had one extra room that halfway through the year he rented out to a girl from Canada. Her name was Heather. Super nice girl. So like once she moved in, I was able to talk to her a little bit more because she was American.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember one of the worst times I ever had there was I got food poisoning.
Oh yeah.
Because I tried a burger place in Ecuador. Like they sold the burgers.
Yeah.
I tried it and I was like on my deathbed the next day.
Really?
Like I was so freaking sick. Like it wasn't even like I was like going to the bathroom or throwing. I did throw up, but it wasn't even like I had to go to the bathroom. Like I wasn't like, going to the bathroom every 2 minutes. I was throwing up a lot and I felt like I had a knife in my stomach and it was literally someone was just turning it.
Yeah.
Heather, I have to give her credit. She like took care of me. Like she didn't take care of me, but she watched over me for like a day. Like would go get me Gatorade. Like
it took a day to recover.
Took 2 days.
Wow.
They almost brought me to the hospital after that first day.
You didn't go to the hospital at all?
No, I'm just gonna rough this out, man.
For me, I would think I'm dying. I need to go like get help or something.
It was so bad. It was horrible. It was one of the worst experiences I think I ever had in my life.
That your parents weren't out there at the time, though?
They were in Atacames, which is like a good 6-hour drive from Quito.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like I could call and be like, come get me or anything. Yeah. I was just like, you know what? I'll get through this.
You just like toughed it out.
Yeah, 2 days of just dying. And the thing is, like, the whole time you're tossing and turning all night, and you're like, I'm never fucking eating meat again.
Yeah.
As soon as I got better, I was like, I need a fucking steak.
Yeah.
Like, I went and got a steak, like, at this really nice restaurant, like a nice restaurant in Ecuador. And it felt so good because your body just feels so depleted.
Yeah. Of anything.
Because you were just literally, I was just throwing up nonstop for 2 days.
But weren't you worried, like, okay, I don't want to try this spot because
I didn't go back to that burger place.
I know, but not the burger place, but any spot in Ecuador, you're like, I'm worried about getting it again.
I was worried about that. I think, like I said, when I was sick. The second I felt better, I felt so depleted. I just needed to eat
anything.
Yeah. And I ate a lot of, like I said, rice, beans, chicken, pork, like very simple meals.
Did you party out there?
A little bit. I found this really cool Irish pub, which was like owned by this Irish guy, and I would go there to watch my football. So I watched the Super Bowl there. It was the year Green Bay won. And I remember going to the bar, and this old couple from Wisconsin was there, and they were just like, "Yo, Green Bay!" I was like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" I was, I got to hang out with them for that night because they spoke.
That's awesome.
But I don't really drink. I think most people know that about me. Like,
you're not a big drinker.
I don't really drink. I don't do any drugs. I'm pretty much a Boy Scout in that area.
Really? Yeah.
So the only times I've drank is like if I've gone to a wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes if we go to a party, I'll have a few drinks. Don't get me wrong.
Some event or something.
I never get to the point where I'm like blackout drunk or like I can't walk or people need to ever take care of me.
Yeah.
No one's ever had to take care of me because I've drank too much.
I've had that, but I hate doing that. I hate being taken care of because I feel like I should be able to take care of myself.
Agree.
Yeah. but you like, what's your vice? You don't like feeling loose with alcohol? You don't like getting like a little bit of drunk?
I don't think I need alcohol to ever get loose. No. I'm pretty chill guy just as is.
Yeah.
I think when I do get kind of drunk, I just kind of get sleepy and
same here.
Lazy.
Yeah.
I'll just lay down. I'm not like, yeah, let's do this.
Let's go dancing or something.
I want to dance.
You don't go out, like even in LA, you don't go to clubs or anything?
Oh, I hate clubs.
Yeah.
Nothing to me is worse than going to a club with people jumping up and down and techno lights going around and I can't even talk to the person next to me.
Yeah.
I like going to a chill bar.
Yeah.
Like, getting some food, talking with friends, like, playing some darts, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's great because it's a chill environment. And you're just, again, you're there because you're there with your friends and you just get to chill out.
You get to interact with your friends, the people you're there with.
You get to have conversations.
Yeah. When you're at a club, it's like, okay, then you guys end up splitting up. Yeah. And doing your own thing, dancing with some stranger or something.
Like, then you step on some dude's shoe by accident. He's like, I'll fucking kill you, man.
Yeah.
Like, why do we know what's happening right now? It's ridiculous.
Have you ever been in a fight?
Not like super serious. Like in elementary, middle school, I was in some fights.
Like grade school fights.
Yeah, I was in a few grade school fights. Nothing super serious as far as like fisticuffs, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I did. I'll tell you this little story in Ecuador. I got mugged once.
That's what I was gonna. Yeah.
Did I tell you this?
No.
People have heard this before. I'll give you the quick version. I was walking back from seeing Fast 5. I think it was Fast 5. I was in Ecuador when Fast 5 came out.
Yeah.
I was walking back home with my headphones on late at night, and I had my iPhone. And this is the weirdest part was after I left the theater, I got some food and I found a wallet. I found somebody left their wallet at like this. No, it was the subway. I was taking a bus because all I took was Metro in Ecuador because I had no car. I found a wallet and I said, okay. I literally was looking through it. There's nothing. There wasn't really cash in there. It was just a bunch of cards. This dude's ID. Again, this is all Ecuadorian identification.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, all right, I'll take this home. I'll give it to the guy who I'm renting from, and maybe we could find this guy on Facebook or something. Yeah. Because I was like, I have no phone. I don't have Ecuadorian. There's no numbers in here.
But you wanted to return it.
I wanted to return it. Yeah. I was like, I didn't like. Ecuador is pretty much not the best government in the world. I wasn't gonna be like track down a copy like here I found this ID because I didn't even know where the cops were. So I literally and then again I'm on the bus and I'm like I need to find this guy on Facebook by his name. So I get off the bus and I start walking to my apartment and I have my headphones on. Then I feel somebody grab my jacket from like behind me.
Wow.
And I turn around And the guy has his hand in his pocket, says he has a pistola. He's saying, I got a pistol.
Yeah.
He's like, he wants my wallet and my phone.
Yeah.
And the thing was, he was wearing like this jacket, a sports jacket almost, and his fist could barely fit in the pocket that he was showing me he had a gun in.
So there's obviously not a gun there.
It was so obvious there was no gun that I was like, and if you don't know this, Ecuador is almost impossible to find a gun.
Why is that?
Like cops have them, nobody else. It's like London.
Really?
Like, they don't let citizens own guns.
I didn't know that.
Unless it's like a hunting license or something like that. But like if you're poor, which a lot of people in Ecuador are, it's really hard to get a hold of a gun because Ecuador is really tight on that. I mean, yes, you could get them. Don't get me wrong. You got enough money, you get anything down there.
Yeah.
But the common guy does not have guns down there. So knowing that and seeing this guy obviously didn't have a gun in his pocket. At that point, I was like, I'm going to try to fucking get away from this guy.
Really? You didn't surrender the wallet that isn't yours?
Well, that's the thing. I did. That was the great thing about it. The first thing I did was give him the wallet I just found.
Yeah.
And I was like, boom, there you go. Get out of here. But
yeah.
He wasn't happy with that. He wanted my iPhone. Because iPhone is like basically a brick of gold down there. Electronics are like triple, quadruple of what they're worth here.
Yeah.
So iPhone down there is worth like $900.
Yeah.
So he's like, he wants a phone, and I'm like, fuck you. Everything I own, this is all I have is music down here.
Yeah.
Like wherever I walk, I listen to podcasts and music because I don't have, this is not America. I can just go to AT&T, get a new phone. So I'm like, not giving this guy my phone. So he literally, like, at that point, I tried ripping my jacket off that he had a good grip on. Like, he grabbed it and, like, twisted. So he had, like,
he wasn't letting go.
He wasn't letting go. So at this point, I, like, took the zipper down, and I was trying to, like, get the jacket off so I could just take off, run.
Oh, okay.
But he wouldn't let go. So at this point, we started getting this, like, tug of war. He kind of grabbed my shoulders. I'm grabbing him. There's a wall. There's, like, a brick wall next to us. So I'm, like, at one point, I kind of threw him against the wall. And he's not, obviously, he has no gun. I knew that from the get-go. I would not have tried this. If he would have showed me a real gun, this guy would have got everything.
There was no point where you're like, okay, maybe this guy has a gun.
No, it was so obvious this guy didn't have a gun that it was like, I know this fucker's lying. He's just trying to get my stuff. So at this point, we're literally we're on the ground a little bit, kind of fighting each other. There's a little bit of a hill to my left, and there's a wall to the right. I'm trying to position myself to maybe throw him down the hill. But the only issue with that was the hill ends into the road. So, like, there's a good chance if I got him down that hill, he would have fell and probably got run over because the cars were going pretty quickly.
But you still cared about this guy not dying, even though he's trying to, like, mug you?
No, well, here's the thing. At that point, I was thinking I want to push this guy into the road.
Oh, you wanted to?
Die.
Okay, I thought you said you didn't want to.
No, I didn't and I didn't because, like, that's a big decision.
Yeah, to murder somebody.
It wasn't like a reaction where I was like, I'm pushing this guy in traffic. It was like, do I push this guy in traffic and literally maybe kill him? Because he doesn't have a gun. He's literally just a guy trying to bully me for my stuff.
Yeah.
So at this point, we're fighting. We're kind of just, it's more of a wrestling match. We're not throwing punches. There's a few times where he cocked back like he was going to throw, and I kind of cocked back like I'm going to throw, but he never threw one. I never threw one. But there were times where it looked like we were trying to get in there. I was almost like, do you want to escalate this? Do you want to make this a fisticuffs? Because I'll meet you with it. But he never brought it there.
Was he a big guy or what size?
Medium size, about my size, a little bit taller. I mean, he was in decent shape because I could tell when I was wrestling with him, I was like, all right, we're pretty evenly matched.
So he wasn't like a massive bully, like just like pushing you around.
Pushing me around. And then eventually at this point, we're wrestling back and forth. He pulls out a pocket knife.
That's yeah.
And it was the knife. The blade was like no bigger than my thumb. You know what I mean?
It still hurt.
But you could still stab me and slash me open.
Yeah.
So when he pulled that out, I basically gave up.
Really?
I was like, okay, I'm not getting stabbed over an iPhone. I was like, nothing is worth my life. I mean, if he came out with a knife first, I probably would have gave him the stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he tried doing his whole thing where he had a pistol. So at that point, that's when I pulled out my phone because that's what he wanted. Yeah. And he threw the wallet on the ground because I had no money in it.
He already checked.
Yeah, he checked it. He opened it up. He's like, there's no money in here. After he pulled the knife out and I backed up, he opened it. And I was like, leave. And at this point, then I came to another decision. I looked down at the road. I said, do I throw my iPhone and just let it crack into a million pieces? Yeah. And just be like, fuck you, you're not getting this. Yeah. Throw it down there. Maybe it'd get run over. It'd be shattered. Yeah. And neither of us get the phone. But then I was like, yeah, if I do that, he might just stab me out of anger.
Yeah. He might still take.
Yeah. So I just gave him the phone.
And then he just walked off?
He walked off. He briskly jogged away. And I waited about 10 seconds, and then I started following him.
Yeah.
I kept a good 20 yards from us, but I kept him in eyesight, but not to the point where he would like turn around. So if he turned around, I could run away. But I started chasing him, and we made it to about a block, and a cop car pickup truck, by the way. Cops drive pickup trucks out there.
Like a Dodge or something?
I don't remember what kind. It was like a white pickup truck with police on the side, and there's two cops in, and they pull up like right in front of me, and I explained to them my best Spanish.
Oh yeah.
Like that this guy just robbed me, and they're like, the cops look at me, they go, jump in the back.
Yeah.
So I jump in the back of the pickup truck with the cops, and we go off taking after this guy. And we're like, and we're right near the park in Quito. So like we're driving around the park. We thinking maybe he cut through the park to get away.
So did you lose him?
Yeah, he got away. We're not sure where he went. But then the cops gave me a ride home, and they said to be more careful at night. And that's how the whole story ended. It's quite the adventure.
That's crazy.
It's quite the adventure.
That's such like balls to go back and chase the guy.
Oh man, because I was pissed.
Yeah,
I love that phone was everything, man.
That's your life. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're down there, getting our iPhone I didn't get our iPhone until my parents went home to Miami to visit my sister, and I went with them. So I left for like a week.
Oh, okay.
And I was able to get a new iPhone.
So, but still, like your phone is your life. It has everything. It has your contacts, your photos, your everything. Yeah. And then it's just gone in an instant.
Music.
Yeah.
My podcast. Yeah. I mainly because I didn't use a phone down there. I just used my iPod for music and like use internet. That was all I used it for. Anyway, fuck that guy.
Yeah, I hope
he's probably dead.
Yeah, he probably fell into the road and got run over.
he mugged somebody wrong eventually.
Yeah, I'm sure it caught up with him.
He's either dead or jail.
So then I want to go after Ecuador. I'm going through like your whole life story, and I apologize for that.
That's all right. I've done this. I've gotten over some of this before. But
yeah. So after Ecuador, you're like, okay, I got to get back to the States.
Yeah, I was time, and I went back to Connecticut. And I was like, I need a month or two just to get my shit back together. Decide what I want to do. I had a couple options. I could either go back to LA, try to do that whole thing over again, which I was kind of so on.
Yeah.
My parents wanted to open up a business in South America, so they were like, why don't you try to open a business in South America?
Oh, they wanted you to like run the business?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just open my own business.
Like what kind of business?
I would have started something small, like internet cafe or something. Because down there, a lot of people can't afford to buy computers. So internet cafes are really big down there.
Yeah, popular. Yeah.
All you do is buy 10 Macs, throw them up in a building, and charge people a couple dollars an hour.
Yeah.
And that's how you can make decent money down there doing that. But I did miss America. I really missed, being in not just America, but being in LA and part of the entertainment industry and being around film. Like if you love film, you live in LA, there's so many, it's a great community out here for that. So I missed it. And one of the reasons I didn't really watch YouTube that much before I moved to Ecuador, because I just, I watch it for funny videos and stuff.
Yeah, but I think, back then, 2008, 2009, it wasn't as big a community as it is now.
At this point, I was like, let's see, 2007, 2008, 2009. This is like 2011.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But still, like the big, kind of produced shows on YouTube aren't as big as they are now. And
the reason because I was in South America by myself, I didn't have, my friends who I usually talk films with. I started watching YouTube so much more. I would use it for highlights, for sports. And then I started, because I missed talking movies with all my geeky friends, that's when I started listening to Schmoes. I started watching Chris Stuckman, Jeremy Johns, all these guys. That's how I started becoming familiar with this whole kind of internet movie kind of community.
Yeah.
So
how did you get into the Schmoes? Was it you just like happened to click their videos and you're like, hey, these guys are cool? No,
before I moved to Ecuador, I used to listen to a lot of podcasts in my car, and I used to listen to Adam Carolla's podcast.
Yeah.
Like not even a podcast. I used to listen to his radio show. He had a radio show, then he made it to a podcast.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he had Mark and Christian on a couple times just to talk movies. And they would plug their YouTube channel at the end. So when I was in Ecuador, I remembered them. Because I started looking at movie reviews because I couldn't really do that. I couldn't talk to people in America. So I started looking at movie reviews and I said, oh, there's those Schmo guys from the Adam Carolla podcast. So that's kind of how I started following them.
Yeah. So then how did you get in contact with them?
I was in Connecticut. I was trying to decide what I wanted to do. And Christian, it might have been Christian and Mark, or it might have just been Christian, put up a Q&A video. And they're like, ask us anything. And I was just like, oh, I remember it was like midnight. It was like midnight, 1 a.m. I was about to go to bed. I threw on my Mac to watch like some YouTube videos for some reason. And I just saw they had a Q&A video.
Oh, they were doing a live video?
It wasn't live. It was pre-taped, but I was just watching it.
Oh, okay.
I was like, oh, let me see, what they, I never really watched Q&A videos that much. And as I was like watching it, I was like, man, I know where these guys, they mentioned they were filming in Universal at the time, right near the John Lovitz comedy store.
Oh, yeah.
Like comedy store, but comedy
formerly, yeah, it's not there anymore.
At that time, Mark Chris were recording there. And I used to live in North Hollywood. So I was like, oh man, I used to live right near this place. I was like, and I remember, I think I wrote in the comment, I wrote in the comments, are you looking for an intern? Literally, I did it right before I went to bed at like 1 a.m. Not thinking anything. First of all, I doubt they would even see the comment, let alone like respond to it.
You're like, might as well. Like, what's the harm? Like, if they see it, they see it. If not, like, they're probably not going to see it.
Exactly. And then I think maybe the next day or two, I saw like a YouTube, notification. Christian replied to my comment. He goes, oh yeah, we might be interested. Message me your information. So then back then you could go to YouTube and message the guy who owns the channel.
Oh, you can't do that anymore?
I don't think you can do that anymore. Maybe you can. I don't know. But like there's just a way to message somebody.
Like a DM or a direct message.
Yeah, almost like a direct message. So I literally just wrote a paragraph. I said, hey, I lied, as everyone knows. I said, I live in North Hollywood. I live right down the street from where you guys record. I used to work in production, and I threw out like some of the movies I worked on, some of the TV shows I worked on, just to let him know I wasn't like some kid in the basement. I want to talk movies with you.
I want to be on Schmoes.
I actually had, I'm a cinephile, and I've worked in the industry before.
Yeah.
And I think Christian emailed me back later that day or the next day. It was like, and this was like a Sunday or Monday, and he was like, can you meet us like in a couple days at a Coffee Bean? Like he was like, we'll have a producer meet up with you in like a week. And I was in Connecticut, and I was like, so I wrote back. I was like, oh, I'm actually visiting family in Connecticut right now. I should be back. And I was like, I'll be back in 2 weeks to like back at my place in North Hollywood. So I basically just, once he said that, I bought a ticket to LA. Luckily, my sister was out here at the time. So I was like, I called my sister. I was like, do you care if I come visit you for like a week or two?
So you weren't planning on moving back here? You just wanted to just do the meeting?
Literally, I came to visit my sister to take the meeting to see if it was going to be worth my time to move out to LA. So I remember I met Ken at Farmer's Market, the Grove, and we talked, and he's like, yeah. And then they basically offered me the internship.
Oh, you met Ken first. You didn't meet Christian or Mark at the Coffee Bean?
Nope, it was Ken.
Oh, they sent Ken.
They sent Ken because he just came producer. His first job as producer was to meet me.
But at that time, were they doing like a live show, or were they doing like the Toad Hop thing?
Yeah. When I moved, like literally when I moved back, they just moved to Toad Hop.
Oh, okay.
When I came to visit. They were just moving to Toad Hop.
But they hadn't had interns or anybody really working for them at the time?
Well, they had like some producer, Cheese was his nickname. Like he helped them really kind of get the podcast started. Ken was just becoming like the new guy. There's episodes where I used to call into the show. Yeah. Because they were at Toad Hop when I got there. You can find a few times where I called into the show.
Do you remember what you asked?
They did a sex episode, like best sex scenes in movies. And
which is...
I called in and they were like, hey, welcome to the show, Josh. What movie would you like to mention? And I mentioned Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse, Kelly Lynch.
I haven't seen that.
Because it's one of the best sex scenes because Swayze is like the seducer instead of the woman. Most movies, the woman seduces the guy.
Oh, yeah.
In Roadhouse, Patrick Swayze is seducing the woman. And she's like helpless. And I just think it's hilarious. So I remember that's one of the episodes I called in back early in the day. So
do they remember that at all? Christian or Mark?
Yeah. Like later down the road, like people found it and pointed it out to them, and they get a kick out of it now. But so then I met Ken. I went back to my sister. I said, I think I'm moving back here. They want me to do it. And so I stayed with my sister for like, because I think I bought a one-way ticket to LA. Oh, you
had no plans of going back?
Well, no, because I was just going to buy it when I came back.
Oh yeah, you had no plans?
I didn't want to like put a certain day I had to leave. So I met with Ken. I did like a week later, I did my first show, which was nerve-wracking because, I was a fan. I was a fan of these guys for a year or two.
But as an intern, were you like running the board or like what were you doing as an intern?
No, at the very beginning, I was just standing off to the side, getting them drinks. Literally, whatever they asked for something, I would just be there. A lot of it was honestly me just standing against the wall, listening and like an audience member.
Just staying out of the way unless they need something.
It became more as, they got more comfortable with me and I got more comfortable. It became much more than that. And then, you know, my initial reaction was I told Ken this, like, I have no desire to be on camera. I have no desire to be on the mic.
Yeah.
I just want to help you guys out. I think it'd be fun and see, you know, maybe if this thing grows, I could be behind the scenes. But Mark Christian, especially Christian, you know, he loves to get everyone on the mic. So
he gives everyone a shot, even if he sees like any potential of just something.
I don't know. I'm sure those old Toad Hop episodes are online. I don't know if they are. I can't imagine going back watching like the first time I was on the mic. I must have been horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still not that good, but I must have been horrible because I was like a nervous wreck.
Because you don't have an experience, and then it's just like it's just a different set of skills that you have to do.
Exactly. And I think this was like September, October, and then I remember like missing a show in like November because I told him I had to go back for my friend's funeral. Wedding. Some people would call that both. Yeah. Some people would say that's both the same thing. Yeah. I'm not one of those people. So I went back for his wedding because I was his best man. So what they didn't know, I wasn't just going back for a wedding. I was going back to move. So I went to my friend's wedding, but I also used that trip to move all my stuff to LA.
Oh, to get back to get all your stuff. Oh, okay, yeah.
And then it wasn't until like 2 years later or something like that I was on Ken's podcast and I revealed that I changed my whole life to come over here and be part of Schmoes.
That was a big gamble just to be part of Schmoes. Like, what if it didn't work out? What if nothing happened?
Exactly. And but again, I missed LA. I did have a desire to be back in LA. And I figured even if this Schmo thing didn't work out, at least I was back where I really wanted to be and I could figure something out.
How was the first time meeting Ken? How did that go?
That was great. Ken was great. We met, like I said, met at the farmers market. Just kind of told him, you know, my love of movies, my experience at work. It was a real chill conversation.
He's not intimidating. He's intimidating to me.
Yeah, a lot of people say he's intimidating. I mean, I never really found him intimidating. No. The thing is, when I met him, he was his first week as producer.
Oh, okay. So he
hadn't even produced a show yet.
He wasn't like the pit boss, anything, or
no. His first job was literally to interview me. When I started, Riley wasn't part of the show. Makuga wasn't part of the show. Like they had been on the show before, but they weren't regulars.
So when did you meet those guys, Riley or Makuga?
As the show kept going, and then like after like 5 months, eventually Riley and Makuga became part of the team.
Oh, okay.
But for a long time, it was me, Ken, Christian, Ellis, Katie Sackhoff, and Tiffany.
Oh, Tiffany Smith has been there since the beginning?
Katie Sackhoff was like kind of the host. And then she was like, because she had other engagements in movies and stuff. Tiffany, I remember, I think started like a show or two before I got there. Like she was just becoming the new co-host. So when I first got there, I think it was Tiffany the first show I did. And then Katie was around for a while. Then Tiffany eventually became the regular.
I don't know if she's been there since the beginning.
Yeah, Tiffany was there from they were doing a show for like a year before that, but or not even maybe, but it was just mainly Mark and Christian.
So at that, was it just like all movie talk? Like what was the main focus?
Back then, Toad Hop days?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was mainly movies, but we also covered TV and whatever. Anything that was entertainment-wise that we want to talk about, we did, basically.
But there wasn't like segment? Do you remember like segments or bits or anything? Like
we did the game, which we still play to this day.
Oh, that's been around since the beginning?
That's been around since the old school.
Wow.
We also had a lot of guests. We had a lot of different guests back then, too. Like, it was a much more radio-type vibe back then.
Yeah. Do you enjoy that more? Or do you like the more like talk showy vibe?
I like both. I think both have, pluses and minuses. I think I love where it is now. It's more about the video. Back then, I think it was more about the audio. Yeah. Like we streamed, but it was like very like basic.
Oh, like the little,
it was the three little squares. Yeah. It was like it was basically kind of like Howard Stern show where you just got to see people on their mics. Yeah. Now it's become much more of a live show, which I think is, especially for our medium, is a better option. It's a production with like a live, Cody does the live switching and all that stuff. Yep. Yeah. Didn't you do so first you were JTI. Yeah, Josh the intern. Yeah. And and we had another engineer at Toad Hop. But then when they went to AfterBuzz, they made it, they kind of joined AfterBuzz for a while. I basically, from that day forward, I was an engineer. Did you have any experience doing that? No, I didn't. The people, I trained with this great girl, Marissa. She's basically the one who taught me how to engineer. She's like an AfterBuzz, staple over there. She taught me and, I did not just Schmoes, but she taught me by letting me work at AfterBuzz and doing all these other shows. And it took a few weeks to like really kind of, get it down. So, and it was nerve wracking. The first time we did a live show, it was nerve wracking as hell.
So did you like? Did they even ask you, or like Christian or Mark, or did they just say like, "Hey, you're going to be doing this now"?
Here's the thing: Christian wanted one of us to be involved in every aspect of the show. He didn't want like some guy who didn't know the show to come in and engineer it, because they're not going to really get the vibe. They're not going to know the show as well. So he's like, you know the show. You've been here since close to the beginning. He's like, you should do this, and he trusted me to like get the right angles and get the flow of the show. I was a fan before I even worked on the show, so he just trusted me. So yeah, I started engineering. And
so like as an engineer, would you set up the shots, or would they already be preset, and then you would just like
like I would prep the show with audio and video, like TriCast, any TriCast operator does. He basically builds the template for the show before the show gets in. I will say, the Schmoes use a lot of audio cues. They use I handled the phone calls. Yeah. I handled the sound effects. I handled the intro, the outro, the commercial breaks. I edited all the commercial breaks back in the day.
That was all you.
That was all me. Yeah. Like it was my responsibility was to build the commercial breaks. Now Comster does that. Yeah. But yeah, so when I was an engineer, I literally did all that stuff.
Yeah. Do you remember the first time Makuga or Riley became like part of the show?
We all went to a Buffalo Wild Wings after a show where they were on, I think. And then I remember after the show, Christian basically told me and Ken, he goes, these guys are part of the crew.
Really?
And me and Ken were like, oh, wow.
Just an executive decision.
Yeah, it wasn't like, we weren't like, it wasn't like, hey guys, do you think we should bring these guys on? Yeah. Christian was like, this is our crew. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then from that point on, it just became, kind of like, again, it was Riley, Makuga, me, Mark, Christian, and Tiffany mainly at that point.
When did Ken become like where does a pit boss come from?
Trying to think when that nickname started. I'm not 100% sure. It was pretty early on. Because here's the thing, he worked a job where he wore a suit.
Like his security guard job or something?
He was a manager of a security guard. So he wore a suit and he would always come straight from work. So he would always show up to the show in like a sharp suit. So
like slicked hair back.
Yeah, and we're all over here in baseball caps and tees and jeans. Yeah. So he just kind of got the name of the pit boss because he looked like he was a pit boss.
How did the news thing come about with him? Do you remember?
I'm trying to remember when he started the news. You know what? I don't remember exactly when that started. Yeah. Yeah. But eventually he started doing it and it was a hit. So yeah.
And it just stuck.
Stuck. I think we started that when we got to AfterBuzz. I'm not sure. I don't think he did that at Toad Hop. I think once we got to AfterBuzz and he had like a podium, then we started putting him on camera there and we started doing the news.
Oh yeah.
Because we didn't have sound cues and all that. Well, we did at Toad Hop, but it wasn't used as much.
Do you know do you remember any favorite bits or like moments on the show, like throughout the years?
Throughout the years?
Or like throughout those beginning years?
Let me think. I'm trying to remember. Like the guests we'd have on would be really interesting.
Yeah.
That was always fun. Like when you had a guest that would just bring a different kind of energy. Yeah. There weren't as many segments back in the day. I mean, listen, the Schmoedown, when we started doing that stuff, that was great. That was like
that was gold.
The very first one we ever did. Like, and it wasn't just now there's so many competitors. Yeah. It was like when you get together with a bunch of friends and you just want bragging rights. Yeah. That's what the first Schmoedown was.
You trivia.
It was me, it was Ken, Christian, Mark. Like we were just like, we all talk movies all the time. So it was literally just like a bunch of friends saying, let's see who
knows more.
Who knows more. To me, it was like, I think I never wanted to win a Schmoedown as much as I did maybe that first time.
What was the first time? Was the Triceratops the first time?
No, that wasn't even part of the official Schmoedown. That was like me and Coster just did like a competition trivia. Okay. And I think us having that trivia matchup was like sparked the idea for the Schmoedown. Oh, okay. And maybe we should do like a tournament thing. Yeah. And the first one was like when I upset Mark Ellis. And where he scored a perfect game, but he didn't bet enough points.
At the end, yeah.
So like
that was the first trivia, or was that the first like Schmoedown?
Like a tournament Schmoedown.
Oh, okay.
So to me, like I always think about that because again, it was just a bunch of friends. We're all very competitive. I know I'm very competitive. I think Christian, Mark, Kuga, Ken, I think we all are very competitive people. So it was just a way for us to like really tap into that.
Did you always think you knew more than them when it comes to movies?
I think we all think we know more than each other. Yeah. I mean, Christian knows a lot. Ellis knows a lot. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. I think now the Schmoedown's been going for so long, we're a little bit more, we all know each other's strengths. And back then it was just more, I think, fierce to the point where like we never did anything like that before. We just all wanted to have the bragging rights.
What do you think your weaknesses are now?
Scores and soundtracks, I'm good to a degree.
That's so like out there for me.
Yeah. There's been ones where I've heard here and I'm like, oh, I know that.
Like you just know like the main one, like Hans Zimmer or like Trent Reznor.
And I know some lore, but there's ones I've heard. I'm like, I would never got that.
You would never.
And classics could be hit or miss. Like there's times where classics I'm like, oh, I should have known that. And there's ones I've missed on the show where I kick myself for like not knowing it. But even though I know classics, I don't know them enough where I feel like I have the reflexes to pull them up so quickly.
Yeah. And like, it's like in the far back of your mind.
Yeah. Like if you ask me this question, if you give me 5 minutes and I don't use any internet, I'm like, oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But if you ask me with 5 seconds, it's a lot harder to pull that out.
Didn't you almost get punched by like Rowdy Piper or something?
Oh, the slap. Yeah.
You almost got slapped.
He gave me a nice slap on the head. Yeah, that was a great joke. That's a great segment. Yeah, rest in peace to the Piper, man. Yeah, Christian loves pulling pranks.
Oh, it was a prank that he did.
It was a prank.
Oh, I thought he wasn't mad at you?
He wasn't mad at me at all.
Oh, I thought he was like pissed that you said something.
No, Christian gave me a list of questions to ask him. And he told Rowdy, once he asks you this question, go off on him.
Whoa.
And I asked a question about wrestling kind of being fake. Like, because he was in a movie, you know, like I was like, was some of the moves like fake? Like, and he basically slapped me across the head, was like, what that? And he gave me the Rowdy Piper death stare, which is, I'll never forget for the rest of my life. Like, I never seen a man look that crazy. And I remember just like ducking behind Christian and throwing Christian under the bus, like, Christian told me to say it. And like to the point where like Rowdy Piper's son had to take him outside the studio to calm him down. And they left me in the studio. I was like, I didn't do any. I was like, I just did what they said. Like Christian told me to write this. Christian wrote this answer. And then finally Rowdy came back and gave me a hug and everyone just started laughing. So
he sold it completely. There was no moment where you're like, maybe this is a bit.
He sold it 100%. I was scared for my life.
So, but it's on the show where he comes back. He's like, "Hey, man, like I'm just kidding."
It's all on there. If you go on YouTube and search out, you know, Rowdy Piper slaps intern.
Oh, I thought it was a legit thing, like where he was pissed off at you.
And I was like, Rowdy Piper was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up.
So
I was devastated.
For a few seconds. Or you upset him? You're like,
I was like, no, I love this guy. Like I'm not a big wrestling fan now, but like growing up in the glory days of the 80s and 90s, huge into wrestling.
It was the best. Yeah. What's this shoesy pants thing?
Oh, he was an intern that was brought in after me. Joe Rugarillo. I don't know if it's pronounced Rugarillo.
Yeah.
I would say that's how it is. He was just an intern that was brought in. Funny guy. Friends with Ken. Ken's kind of one that brought him in. And we had this like little fake feud going on.
Was it like a rivalry between you? I can say.
I mean, we had like a fake feud going on. I mean, I won't say it's all fake.
Yeah.
I don't think we always saw eye to eye. But it was just kind of a fun thing to play for the show.
Oh, okay. So you guys did have like a back and forth.
Yeah.
Was it
like
competitive or
jokingly? Like we were never like I'm gonna be the better intern.
Yeah.
It was never like that. We were, you know.
So then what was the feud about? Just like
it was just fun. I just think we both like digging at each other. So like we would make little videos and making fun of each other and stuff. And
you guys would like kind of talk shit about each other? Yeah,
like on social media though, not like on the show a little bit, but yeah. But listen, Joe's a cool guy. He didn't really work out for him. I think he wanted to do other things.
Oh, so he left voluntarily.
Yeah, because he wanted to write more, and I think he started writing for the Schmoeville website after that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it was cool to have him there.
But he left. Did he like move back, or was that a different intern that moved back home or something?
I think you're thinking of Jake.
Oh,
yeah, Jake was an intern we had for a short time, and then he had to move back home. But Jake was cool too.
Didn't you get like into like a competition or something with Shoesy Pants? Where like winner got a girl to sit on his lap?
I don't think was Shoesy around then. I don't think he was around then.
What was the whole like
I can't
Playboy model that sat on your?
It was just like when it was during the show. Like she has to do the rest of this interview if something happened. If one of us maybe did like I think we did maybe it was like a little mini trivia game. I think it was a trivia game.
It was kind of like a Schmoedown thing?
Yeah, it's just like real quick. Honestly, I don't remember.
You don't remember?
And I just remember I won, so she got to sit on my lap for the rest of the interview. And it was horrible because they just made fun of me the whole time. It wasn't even, I couldn't even enjoy it.
Were you like awkward during it, or were you just like...
No, I mean, I was like, just like, oh, these guys are going to tear me apart because there's a girl sitting on my lap. And that's exactly what they did.
And they did. They're like, JT, hide your
boner.
Like,
if you feel anything, pop up, it's like, come on, man. She's sitting on my lap.
But was she
was a good sport.
She was a good sport about it?
Yeah, she was great about it.
Do you remember her name?
Oh, God. She's going to kill me. Yeah. I've seen her, like, she's a model actress. She was in an episode of Eastbound and Down for the last season.
But she was an actual Playboy model at the time?
I think she was like, I don't think at the time she was a Playboy model. I think at that point she was like kind of getting away from that.
Or just
she was trying to be an actress.
She was trying to be an actress.
But I don't remember Oh God, it's gonna kill me because as soon as I hear it, I'm gonna remember it.
Yeah, you'll know her name.
But
eventually.
I don't remember the name off the top of my head.
But at the time, you weren't thinking like, oh my God, this is a model on my lap.
No, I'm fully aware I'm on camera and microphone. It's all part. It was just all part of the show.
Yeah. You do anything for the bit or for the show or anything? Like, has there been something where you're like, I don't want to do that for the show or for the bit?
I don't think so. They never really asked me anything where I was like, that's not cool or anything.
And they just do it and you have to go along with it?
Yeah, I think everything's done in fun. I don't think there's ever been anything where I was like, no, man, I'm not doing that.
Do you get upset when they like kind of poke fun at you or?
No, because I would be upset if it was something I didn't know.
Yeah.
And half the things they say are true. So it's like, yeah, I mispronounce things. It's true.
You don't get like upset with yourself? Like, fuck, I said try.
No, I've accepted it.
Or Mr. Doubtfire or something.
No, I think because I tell them this, my excuse is I grew up in a bilingual house.
Yeah.
My dad spoke Spanish. My mom spoke English. My dad learned English eventually. But I think my dad, because he never really mastered the English language, especially when I was a kid, he would always mess up words, like the pronunciations. And I think I kind of picked up on that. And like, for some reason, I just don't pronounce things right correctly.
That makes sense. So like a different language, like there are like what is it?
Oh my God, the vowels are totally different in Spanish and English.
Yeah. And I don't know the word, like condescend, I don't know. But like, just like the terms, like saying Mrs. instead of Mr. or something, like there's like small things that are different.
It's so different. Like the vowels are just A, O, U, in Spanish, like A, I, U, U. It's totally different. So I do think that I can't blame all on that.
Yeah.
I think part of it is just my brain doesn't work sometimes.
Or you get excited and you're like, yeah, this is it.
Yeah. Sometimes my mouth works faster than my brain, and I'll just throw something out there before I even think about it.
Yeah. But like they're not making fun of you out of like hurtfulness or like there's nothing
it's so
malicious about it.
Because Christian was known for being the one who mispronounced things.
Oh, really?
Before I came on, they joked around with him because he would always mispronounce names like in reviews. And I remember Christian one time telling me, I love your hair because now I used to get a hard time for mispronouncing, but you've completely take that away. You are the king of that. Like all that is going to you now. And
the focus is on you and you're the guy that like mispronounces.
I was like, you're welcome, Christian. You're welcome.
Misspells things or something like that.
Exactly.
So I want to wrap up here, but I also want to get, now you're at Screen Junkies. Mm-hmm. Why did you go from Schmoes to Screen Junkies? Why'd you abandon the team?
I didn't abandon the team. Here's the thing. Like when I was working at AfterBuzz, I was working for AfterBuzz. I wasn't working for the Schmoes.
Oh, you technically...
I was working for AfterBuzz. You
weren't like the intern for the Schmoes? You were just like AfterBuzz?
I was an AfterBuzz employee who did the Schmo show. Oh,
okay.
So like I wasn't... at that point, Schmoes weren't really, paying all the crew. We were just doing it out of the love of the show.
Yeah.
And at that point, I started doing movie fights. The very first episode of movie fights was at the AfterBuzz Studios. Oh, basically,
I remember that with like Spencer and Hal,
Andy, and all them. They had this new show idea for movie fights, and they were like, "We need a studio." And Christian arranged it for movie fights to shoot the first. I think they did almost the first like 3 to 6 months at that studio in AfterBuzz. And Christian was like, "Well, you could use our engineer JT." And I never met Andy before. I never met any of those Screen Junk guys before. I remember them coming in. It was Friday at 10 a.m. They would come in. I'd have the studio ready, and I introduced myself to them. They're like, all right. And they didn't really, they had an idea what the show was. Yeah. But they didn't really know exactly what it was. So, back in the day, it was 10 questions. Wow. And it was, there were hour episodes. Like, the show really kind of developed for the first few months there.
Yeah, it was a lot rough in the beginning.
Yeah, and the Screen Junk guys would come in, and I'd be like, hey, guys, what's up? And they'd be like, all right, this is what, I would help them kind of lay the show out on a TriCaster and how they would want it. So I was there from day one, and it got to the point where they built their own studio at their studio in Beverly Hills.
The Screen Junkies did.
Yeah, Screen Junkies did. And Screen Junkies was like, originally they were going to have one of the guys working at Screen Junkies already at Defy Media engineer the show. And they asked me to come show him how to run the show.
Oh, why would they? Why would you show somebody else to run it? How to run it?
And that's the thing, because, I was already working AfterBuzz. I was working with the Schmoes. I was like, I'm not going to be like, give me a job. So they were like, listen, we have a guy. We have a show this Friday. Can you come in Thursday, show him how to do the show so he can do it Friday? We'll pay you a day rate. It's like, yeah, money. Yeah. Of course, I'll do that. So I showed up, and we started doing test episodes with the new guy. And I was showing him how to do it. and it got apparent like he just wasn't going to pick it up in time. Not that he was bad, but to learn a whole show a day before the show goes live.
It's a live show.
And this is when they start going. Yeah. So I was like, okay. They were like, eventually Andy, I remember just being like, you know what? Could you do the show tomorrow?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, of course, I'll do it. He's like, okay. He goes, because, until we get this other guy up to date, we don't want to have to worry about this first show. We're going bad.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, no problem. So I came in Friday, did the show flawless because I've been doing it for so long. And it just, can you do it next week? Yeah. Can you do it next week? And I just became the movie fights engineer like I always was.
It just continued on?
Continued on.
They never said, hey, okay, like that's enough from here. We'll continue with our guy.
They were just like, you want to keep doing it? I was like, yeah. So then they started bringing me in Thursdays also. So I could prep the show. Because there's a lot of prep that goes in movie fights, like the day before.
Yeah. Graphics,
photos,
chirons,
all that stuff. Yeah. So I started coming in 2 days a week where I would basically come in Thursday, prep the show, leave early though. They only let me work half the day, so I'd still make it to Schmoes Thursday night. Then Friday I would go to Defy and do their show.
So you were only working there 2-3 days at a time?
2 days, Thursday, Friday, and then eventually they started giving me some editing jobs. So I would go. Sometimes I'd go on like Monday or Tuesday, and they would help, and I would help work on some segments they shot with like Screen Junkie show. Like I did a couple. Nick Mundy did the Fast 7 press junket. Like I helped edit that, and I would start help editing the Screen Junkie show. And so they were giving me like 2 to 3 days a week, which was. I was happy with the money. I was like, even 3 days, I was pretty like, oh, this is good money.
Yeah.
And then eventually there started been rumblings of Screen Junkie Plus.
Oh, this was all before Screen Junkie Plus.
And then they were like, would you want to run this network? You'd be full time. And I was like, hell yeah.
So you're full time employee at Screen Junkies now?
For the first 6 months or so of SJ Plus, I was full time, but not on salary.
Oh, okay.
Like I wasn't part of the company. Then in February of last year, they made me a Defy full-time salary, all that stuff.
Like benefits, everything. Wow. So you're set.
Yeah. I mean, as of right now, and they can still fire me any day, but So now I'm officially Screen Junkies employee. Defy Media.
Defy technically, because that's the umbrella.
It's the name of the company. Yeah. We have Smosh, Clever, all that.
So are you there Monday through Friday now?
Yep. Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're enjoying it?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's like your haven.
I get paid to go and talk movies all day.
Yeah.
With like people who I consider my friends. And I enjoy everything we do. Like I've worked so many jobs, right? I woke up in the morning and I'm like, God, I gotta go to work today.
Yeah.
And this is the complete opposite.
Yeah.
I go there, I'm in a good mood the second I get there. I enjoy the content we do. I enjoy the people I get to meet, the comedians, the directors.
You've had some big names on it. Seth Rogen,
the Russo brothers. Like we've had, all these great people in the industry. And it's, for a film geek like me, it's just awesome. Yeah. And it's really a great company. I absolutely love the people below me, above me. Like it's a good company.
I've been to Defy Media and I've seen like the studios there, and like in my mind, it's just like a playground for like adults.
Yeah, it really is. Smosh is like, those guys are just like a bunch of kids running around doing whatever they want. Yeah. And it's fun. And the company, they're really good as far as like time off. If you need it, they're really cool about that. Yeah.
So they don't mind if you're like, hey, I want to work on this other gig. There's no like, oh, you can't do that. That's our competition.
No, they're really cool. I still do Schmoes. I still do Collider. We're all in the same kind of, entertainment community.
You guys help build each other pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, we're all cool. That's why you see a lot of crossover stuff. Because everyone's kind of, we're all in the same boat together. If they succeed, we can succeed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love my job. I love going to work every day. Like, honestly, sometimes when I have like 2 weeks off, I'm like ready to go back to work.
You're restless. You're like I need to go back.
Yeah. I'm ready to go back to work because I enjoy it and I kind of miss it.
I'm just thinking about your story. Like you're successful because like the opportunity met. You were like, you had all this experience. You were ready.
I was ready, and I put myself in a position to be when the opportunity came across. Yeah, I put myself in that position.
It was
trust me, I sacrificed lived hard. What do you mean? There were times where I was just broke.
Really?
I was living off like $100 a week, if that. And I was, doing whatever I could to make extra money.
Were there times where you wouldn't eat at all?
I mean, no, I was always able to eat and have a roof over my head,
like a $5 burger. But
like, there's times where it's like, okay, do I want to? Eat out tonight or eat for the rest of the week. Like I said, I appreciate money.
Yeah.
So like there were plenty of times when my parents called me, were like, you should just come home.
They wanted you to get back?
There were times where like, you're not making any money.
Uh-huh.
You know, you're doing this show for free, like Schmoes.
Uh-huh.
You're like, you don't know if it's ever going to turn into a job. There's just times where like you need to come start like a career in Bristol, Connecticut. And I would tell him like, Mom, I would be miserable.
Yeah.
I don't want to work at some office job where I hate my job 9 to 5.
You have to dress up in a suit.
Yeah. I was like, I'd rather be poor and enjoy what I'm doing than make money and be miserable.
That's it. That's what you're doing.
Now I'm happy to be a point where I'm making money and I'm enjoying what I'm doing. So I am like on cloud 9.
You're living it. Was there ever a time where you thought about going back? Where you're like, okay, like what am I doing here?
There were times where like you just get sick of being broke.
Yeah.
When you're just sick of struggling. But another thing is once you struggle and are broke for a long time, you kind of get used to it.
that becomes the new normal.
It kind of becomes a new normal.
Yeah.
The strange thing to me now is having money.
Like, what do I do with it?
Yeah. And that's why like you said, I spoiled myself, got this projector, but I live a pretty simple life. I don't drink. I don't do any drugs. I'm not wasting money on that.
Yeah.
I'm not a big party person. So like a lot of times I just go to the movies. Everything I do is pretty cheap.
Same here.
I think that's why when I was poor, I was never really that miserable because I was like, can I still eat? Yeah. Can I still see a movie? Yeah. Now I used to theater hop a lot more back then.
Oh yeah.
I would like wait till 3 movies came out. I'd buy one matinee ticket and theater hop because I couldn't afford to be watching 3 movies a week.
So
I found ways around it.
Yeah, that's what you have to do to survive.
Totally.
But now you're set. You're doing well.
I'm doing well, and I can enjoy myself. It's great.
You have your own channel.
Yeah, I know. Well, yes, everyone subscribe to JTE Movie Things. That's something I just did for fun, and that's literally the reason why I do it.
It's just a fun
I don't
thing.
see it as a job at all. If I ever felt like it started becoming a job, I probably would stop doing it.
Like you don't have advertisements or anything.
I mean, if you put a video on YouTube, it comes with ads. Yeah, but I can't control that.
But like a loot crate or something, like wouldn't that become a job where like okay, now you have to have all this content to meet our standards?
My channel's so small, it's nowhere near that. I think I just crossed 8,000 subscribers, which is okay.
That's a good amount. Yeah,
but if it eventually gets to the point where it starts making good money, I guess I would look into that stuff. But that is not my goal. I'm not like, I want to be the next, YouTube guy where I just live off my YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm just doing it for fun. And honestly, when you do all these shows and you get to be on Schmoes podcast, Screen Junkie shows, you just get a few moments to kind of get your thoughts out there.
Yeah.
This is the one place where I could put all my thoughts on the one platform and let my voice be heard, much like my podcast, JT Movie Thinks.
Yeah.
Also, the reason why I started that was just to have my own avenue of getting my voice out there fully. And I've been concentrating on my YouTube channel more. So I haven't had episodes too often. I had one recently where I did like the subject of zombies because I just happened to watch like 2 zombie movies.
Oh, okay.
So, but I'm going to try doing more. For me, it's like, I'm just so busy with work, YouTube channel. My podcast will still come out once in a while. It's not going to be. I was doing it weekly for a time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's a lot, as you know here.
That's what I'm trying to do weekly. And to have guests and set up everything.
And I will say, like when I had iTunes and I had JT Movie Things podcast, it started costing me money.
Yeah,
because the amount of downloads you get on iTunes, like you're throwing this on Schmoes, no, right?
Yeah,
I had my own iTunes feed, which means I had to create my own Podomatic site.
Oh yeah.
And after you get a few downloads, it was costing me $50 to $75 a month just to keep up with
the bandwidth. Oh wow.
So like I was losing money I enjoy doing it, but I was losing money.
That's
YouTube, it's free to put up and it makes me some money. It's not a lot of money, but I have gotten like, there's a threshold on YouTube where like usually it's 100, but I put like 300.
300.
So every like 4 or 5 months so far, I've been getting like 300 put in my bank account.
Oh wow!
Just for off views.
It's like CPM or something, like cost per 1,000 views.
Yeah,
or something?
like if you get 10,000 views on a video, it's probably like $8.
Really?
Yeah,
that's it. Wow. So but you get a lot more than what you said, 10,000.
That's views. Usually my views are only a couple thousand.
Oh, but is it? It's not per video. Is it like the whole like collective?
No, per video.
Oh, it's per video.
Yeah. Well, like depending on how good that video does, depends how much money it has. Like I had a Logan trailer reaction, which hit like 60 to 70,000.
Wow.
And that made me close to $70.
Nice.
So once something like hits, it's great because you're like, oh my God. But then you'll do 5 more videos and they'll maybe make $3-4 a piece. So, it's just nice when the big ones hit.
Yeah. How did the thumbnails come about?
I just I don't think my thumbnails are that much different than every. Look at Stuckman. Look at like the Schmoes. They're doing funny faces. We're like, oh, and it says
like, click me.
Yeah, it says a movie and it says review and it has a picture of the movie.
Yeah,
I do the same exact thing. For some reason,
you get shit for it.
People like to give me shit for it. You look at the Schmoes' thumbnails; they're pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, everyone is.
Yeah, I just go a little bit farther, I guess. I look more ridiculous, so I think it helps.
Yeah, like the collateral one with the glasses.
Yeah, that was great.
But you have like serious ones, like you put your index finger on your chin and stuff.
Just because I everything I do, I want to be somewhat entertaining.
I mean, that's the point of it. Yeah.
I hope people don't think I'm like seriously like, No, I'm not like literally deep in thought. I think it looks funny for me to be doing that, so I do it.
Yeah, well, wrapping up things. Okay. Do you have a plan? Do you have like a 4-year, 5-year plan, or are you just like living life right now?
JT never has a plan. And I like it that way.
Yeah.
I like not knowing where I'm going to be 2-3 years from now.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever planned anything out more than a year in advance. And to me, that's exciting. It's
not terrifying?
No, not at all. And I know some people do find that terrifying.
Yeah.
I've never been that way. Again, I told you, even when I'm poor, I'm pretty happy. So like if I'm poor 2 years from now, I'll probably be happy. I just don't know what I'll be doing. I just don't, that's why like it's hard for me to ever think about buying a house.
Yeah.
Because then I know I'm stuck that place for the rest of my life.
Or
until I sell it or something.
20, 30 mortgage.
And I'm paying it off.
Yeah.
For me, the fact that like I could leave, if I wanted to leave the Ecuador tomorrow, I could pack everything, most of my stuff in a bag, quit my job, and move to South America.
You would still do that again?
I'm not saying I would. I was just giving an example. Like I like the freedom to know I could.
Oh, okay. So, are you still creating things like directing or writing or like doing anything?
Not really. I mean,
or is that still a dream of yours?
It's something I would maybe do if I came into a bunch of money. Then maybe I would.
Yeah.
But I don't find the drive as much right now. I do always have like I like short term like sketches, I guess Ken would call them. He doesn't like skits.
Oh yeah, you call them skits.
Yeah,
Ken said it's not a real word.
Yeah, for me, it's like if you gave me a crew right now, said, "Hey, I got 10 guys that'll help you shoot something."
Yeah,
I would go shoot something right now with you.
Yeah,
getting that kind of people together is so hard that it's at the point where I'm like, I don't even want to bother.
It's tough getting more than 2 people in the same room for an hour.
Exactly. Yeah. Like if I was back in film school, I'd be making short films every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun, and it's like to me, like just like any instrument.
Yeah.
The more you keep up with it and keep doing it, the better you'll get. Like same thing goes with making shorts. If you want to make stuff, just keep making stuff.
Yeah, no matter how you're going to start off shitty. It's everything in the beginning is going to be shitty. Oh my god,
my first short films are probably horrible.
You haven't gone back and like watched them or anything?
I remember them pretty well. Some of them were I think some of them were still pretty good, but you learn.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you have to go back and look at it objectively and say, hey, this isn't that great. Mm-hmm. As opposed to being like, this is awesome. I created it's awesome.
I look at some of the stuff I made in college and I still laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but part of me is because I was there and I have a connection to it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if people outside of me would like it, but I like to think I have a pretty good sense of what's funny and what's not.
Yeah.
So I'd like to think it's not just me like, oh, there's my buddy.
What's your sense of humor? Like favorite movies or like comedies or stand-ups or anything?
Comedies, like I love Bottle Rocket.
Bottle Rocket?
Yeah, it's one of my
Wes
favorites.
Anderson's?
Yeah, it's his first film.
Yeah.
Very dry. I love dry, good humor. I love the mockumentary like Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
Like Spinal Tap is one of my favorite comedies. Stuff like that. Like, I mean, straightforward comedies could be good too. Like Dumb and Dumber, like you said, is freaking hilarious. But definitely more towards the dry,
witty, just dry. Like,
When Harry Met Sally is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stuff that kind of tackles real life, but at the same time can be really funny.
That's what I enjoy. Like a commentary on the ridiculousness of life is what I enjoy.
I mean, one of our favorite films, One Flew the Cuckoo's Nest, has some hilarious moments in it. Yeah. I love it.
At first I didn't get it, but I'm like, well, going back, I'm like, this is fucking hilarious. Yeah. Danny DeVito, like taking the cigarettes and or cutting it in half and saying, I'll bet a nickel.
Yeah. Just Jack Nicholson in that movie is by far his best performance, in my opinion.
That's my favorite movie.
It's the best.
All right, Jay. Sorry to take up so much of your time.
No problem, man. It's fun.
How can people find you?
On Twitter at JTE Movie Thinks. On YouTube, JTE Movie Thinks. Mm-hmm. Cross branding is very important.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 main places. I have an Instagram account, but I barely ever use it. Same thing, JT Movie Thinks. You catch me on Schmoes on Wednesday nights. You catch me on Collider Movie Schmoedown and Screen Junkies. I'm on Movie Fights. I have a couple matches for Movie Fights and TV Fights coming up. I always appear on their shows once in a while.
Have you ever won a movie fight?
I'm 5-2.
You've won 5 movie fights?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I might have won 6 after that last one, actually.
Whoa.
I'm pretty good. I got a pretty good record in movie fights.
I've seen you
and
on
I'm
there.
tag team champ. So in the movie Showdown, I'm feeling pretty good.
So you're doing pretty well with yourself.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. JT knows his movies. That's one thing you can't say.
He movie thinks. Yeah. Well, thank you for doing this. And if you want to find me, I'm at Schmoes Beardo, and Twitter, Instagram, my Don't Be a Beardo podcast. Thank you for doing this.
No problem. It was fun.
Thank you so much. And let's get out of here.
All right. Peace.